everyone, welcome back to another video. This one should be a fun one. It's not necessarily a study or a breakdown. I haven't quite done one of these in quite a while. It'll be a design, and we already did some of it on stream. Oh, hold on. I thought I pressed the wrong button here. Okay, we're good, fine. What we'll be doing, as it is the spooky month, is that what we've been doing is we've been designing a character, and we'll be able to play this character in the game. It is a solo tabletop RPG game called 1000-Year-Old Vampire, and it's a lot of fun. It is, however, theater of the mind, and the fact that it is means we don't get any visuals, so we're making our own visuals. So I thought it would be fun to create character sprites and game sprites around the idea of this character turned vampire and their journey to become a vampire. The first time we did it, if I scroll out a little bit, you can see this guy was turned into a vampire. We never really did too much with this guy though, so I'm hoping that'll change, as this gal right here. She is an elderly orc druid who has been betrayed time and time and again, and she was turned into a vampire. This is her vampire form. So the hope is that today what we'll be doing, as I'm not sure how long it'll take, but today what I hope to do is I hope to create a sprite, a bigger form, about 64 by 64. So we'll have her 32 or 16 wide by 32 tall one, her mini sprite, and then we'll also have a 64 by 64, since he too is 64 by 64. So we'll see how that goes, but that's today's agenda. Make her big, and I don't know if we'll be able to do two. I might have to swap it or slice it into two versions or two videos, depending, because if it's one thing I know I struggle with, it is character design and it is making characters. It was easy enough to do because I've been using my templates. These little guys right here, they've been easy enough to modify and then change from there. But making bigger characters, bigger sprites, the last time I did that, I don't even have it on here. File, open recent, do I have it? All characters, here we are, lovely, you can see. This is the last time I did it, very recently, technically speaking, but this was not the first idea. I ended up going with this since this was what I was able to accomplish with my certain skills, so I'm hoping this time around, hopefully we can get like a standing sprite, or not standing, but an action sprite, and we can go with my first idea. That's the fingers crossed, at least. And with that said, the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of the times, and let me change the screen, a lot of the times people aren't sure where to start when it comes to making characters, how to do characters, and I think the number one thing is gonna be references, getting all those references. We talked about it on stream before, but what I've done is I've gathered references, for example, if I use my, is it middle click? Middle click. What I've done is I've gathered different references from different artists. For example, designs of orcs. We have orcs here from the official D&D and Pathfinder games. We have down here some more artists of orcs. We also have here some muscular woman, since we have a muscular orc on our hands. She's a protector. She's supposed to be good and kind-hearted, but now being turned into a vampire, it's bringing her more monstery form out, as the idea behind the trope, the good girl gone bad, or something of the sort. And if we scroll up here, you can see I also have some bears here. We have orc. We also have orc thief, should they need to be a thing. We also have down here some characters from games, hunter characters. So let's see, Artemis from Hades 2. We also have the Witcher, and just some actual real people and different art. And excuse me, the hope of creating this reference board is that I can, at a moment's notice, just say, okay, we want hunter. Where can we get hunter from? I also have down here, if we need it, skeletal structure. We also have muscular structure. And if you're wondering what program this is, it is Puref. If I right-click this guy and click on Note, it is P-U-R-E-R-E-F. There we are, Puref. It is a free-to-use program. I use it day-to-day whenever I do use any drawing or art, since I can have a whole board on here, and anytime I need something, for example, thoughts and notes on character design, it's right here. Shape design, shape language, things of that nature, it makes it super handy. And what we have today is a little bit tricky. I tried my best to find references for different pose ideas. The thing is, when you draw a character, everything can tell, or everything can give away what type of person they are. So from expression to colors to their posing, it can be really important to conveying the character. For example, if I bring you back into this guy right here, if you take one look at this guy, what's the feeling you get? When I drew him, my hope was to make him feel sorrowful and remorseful. That's why I paid attention to the eyebrows. I usually, when people have their cowboy hat over their heart or they're holding it to their chest, they're thinking they're a little bit hopeless or they're down on their luck. So that was the hope with this pose. And in our case, if we go back over to Pure Ref here, and I bring you over to this guy right here, you can see I have some huntery poses. So the hope is that we can make something mildly hunty, maybe even that pose there, we'll see. We'll do a few sketches and see where it goes. But first, initially, mildly hunty when she is not converted yet, but then once she turns into a vampire, go all monstrous and That's the hope at least. You can see, even here, just body language on upright, beastly, wild. We're going for wild in her vampire form, since the idea is that because she's a druid, the way she fights is she takes on different forms of animals, or she might go eye of owl and claws of tiger. That's the idea behind how she fights. So that's why, if once becoming a vampire, that power kind of gets unleashed and all monstery and That's the hope. With all of that said, though, with all of that preface done and done, why don't we get started? So what I'll do is I'll bring you back into Aseprite here. And from there, I'll go ahead and enable Pure Ref like this. Then we'll make this guy even smaller so I can see him on my screen. And the nice part about Pure Ref is that I can pin him on my screen, so I can always have this open even if I do have multiple monitors. Makes it very handy in that sense. We'll make that a little bit bigger. So I'll save that here. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at a few of these poses and see what we can come up with. If I scroll out, we have this here. Yep, that's the one. Let me grab my pen, get a little bit of stretching in. I hope you're ready for a long one because I'd say maybe 2 hours what we're looking at. But you know what? I've been doing practice. I've been doing a lot of extra things, so maybe it'll take me a shorter amount of time. Who knows? Also, let me rename this to Syrio because that's his name. And we're working on Gloyra Ownka. That is her name. So what I'll do is I'll just grab the colors we're already using, since that should make it handy dandy. Another thing I can also do is if I fill in this guy to be the color of the area, this should hopefully also give us some boundaries to work with so we don't get over our heads on sizing. So we'll go ahead and do this guy here. Now, if I use a block here, yep, lovely. Okay, so question is, what pose do we want to go for? Usually when it comes to posing, anatomy is pretty important. For example, here, I'm thinking, okay, what anatomy points are we seeing? And that's why I like seeing these guys. I believe this is from, you can see this artist right here, that's their logo. If I right click this guy and I set it to, let's see, draw, we kind of have a few things going on. When I see bodies, I always try to break them down. For example, here we have a circle. Oh, that is not a good color. Hold on. Let's do like, you know what, green, since she's green. We have a head going on here, which is a circle. We then have a sort of body kind of arcing out, kind of coming down. So body kind of going here. And then you kind of have a torso, so another circle possibly. Then you kind of have another, what is it called? What would you call it? A trapezoid, I think it would be. You kind of have another trapezoid here where it's thin at the top or thin at the bottom, thick at the top. And then you kind of have a foot, another roll. This guy right here is a triangle. So you might say that's a triangle. This guy right here, kind of more of a trapezoid. It's got that trapezoid feel. And it's also got another triangle down here. And I'm just trying to get the feel of it, because if we can break down the body into separate shapes, then we should be good. Really, even you don't even have to break it up like this. Technically speaking, you could just say that is a really long rectangle, like that. And then we also have a hand, kind of also, you could call it maybe a rectangle, flat rectangle like that there. That could work. And then if I do escape here, you can see, it's simple enough that we know what's going on. So what I'll do is I will grab, let's see, I think I can grab, it lets me grab you and drag it down and around. And then I'll copy this, paste this, and I can make this the bottom guy here, like that. So we can kind of see the shapes now, just the hope. So I'll go ahead and save this. Oh, don't want to rotate you. We'll go ahead and save this. I think this might be the best because it doesn't look like she's ready to pounce. She just looks like she's thinking. The only issue is we can't see both sides of her face. And on our character, it's important because while protecting someone, while she was doing her protector duty, she happened to get a glass eye from failing to fight the opponent correctly. And during this vampire transformation that takes place, that glass eye gets turned into a evil vampire red eye, blah, 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 blah. So it's pretty important to her character and her character design. Let's see if maybe we can have the face forward or something else where we can see both. Or maybe during her vampire transformation, we can have the pose change a little bit. So what we'll do is see. And another thing I try to do, my best to do, is I try to make sure if the face gets shown, how much of the eye is shown, things like that. So I'm just trying to see, okay, sizing, we kind of have that body part, right? The wrapping around that portion there. So is that enough? Is this big? Is this small enough? I try not to worry about too much of the details since a lot of it is subject to change. So right now, all I'm doing is moving things around, seeing what can and can't be done. Kind of have that circle here, right? Maybe a little bit smaller. You have to remember as well, this is a skinny character, so our character is probably going to be a lot bigger. We have to keep that in mind. We have that guy kind of coming down, right? We kind of have that guy coming down. Then we kind of have that foot coming out and down. We have the hand kind of coming down here. We have this to fill in. And then maybe grab the body arm here, like that there. From there, we also have a foot here. Kind of comes out and down, kind of like that. More back there. That's kind of the posing. We can try some other ones too. But let's see, just looking at this, take the design a little bit farther. If we can nail down the face, I think we'll be good for the rest of the body. Otherwise, if I had to choose another one, what's another one we could do? This one's pretty tricky. We've got feet action in it. Be it pixel art or through regular traditional digital art. This will always be difficult figuring out how to do these arm and hand poses. So maybe not that one. This kneeling pose is also pretty good too. I quite like that one. So you know what? We'll move that one down too. So let's also try to break this guy down and then let's see. So I'll right click, I'll click on draw, and let's see. Now this one has a really tall neck, which is interesting, super tall neck. So we have this guy here, the neck is a rectangle. Then we have another, let's see. This kind of goes down all the way to the bit, doesn't it? Kind of like that. And then we have another kind of trapezoid that we had for the other one. So something like that. And then it comes down. So again, we remember it's thin at the bottom and then wide at the top. So it might be like that there. And then we have another point, another kind of trapezoidish look. And then we have this guy, which is thin and thicker at the top here. And then another guy back here. And then there's a hand, but you don't need to worry too much about that for now. Kind of has that hand there. So from there, if I just copy this, paste this, slide you over, and we need to separate you guys. Can we separate you? I believe if I do Control J, it should be able to separate them. If I remove the drawing from it, there we are. Lovely. And do Control J. That way you can see the different poses. So we'll move that there, move that there. So if we were to do that one instead, because I think these two were our best bets, what I'll do is I'll copy this, paste this, slide it over here so we have two of them to look at. Then I'll make this a little bit bigger, that way you can see it on screen here. I'll slide it up a little bit. So if not that more hunched down look, more of this sort of look, what would that give us? I can also slide this guy down since they're the same layer. That's good to go. So we'll grab back our green here and let's see, shall we? So with a body and a head more up here, probably more up here, right? And then we have that rectangle neck, so something like that. And then we have the back, and actually let me slide this over so I can see. Body kind of goes back and around, so possibly about this here. We kind of have down and the back round, and we'll change the proportions and everything. Right now we're just trying to get things down. Kind of have a knee down here, there. I'm trying to also think of different silhouettes, things of that nature. What would we see from far away? If the silhouette looks nice, that's usually an indicator of things looking good. For example here, there's a lot of space going here. Is there a lot of space going back here? Possibly not. So what we can do is we can grab our lasso tool here and just mess around with it, because right now nothing is set in stone at all. It might more so be like this here, I think. We would have our hand kind of here, so we'll add the hand here. Her body also seems to be more upright, so we'll move this upright a little bit more. We'll add that back there, like that there, possibly. And the back kind of goes out a little bit and then out and in. So we have two we can look into. We have kind of this short grounded pose and another one. Now the question is, which one do I think would be nice? I think this one's pretty nice. But this one here at least shows both eyes. So maybe it might be better to show this one here because of its being both eyes, but we can experiment. So I'll go ahead and save this guy. What I'll do then is I'll slide this guy over and up so we can make sure we keep up to date with our different guys. Slide this over and up, and let's see. So I'll slide that over and up about over there. Save. I'll then copy this guy, save it, paste it down so that we have another guy. Merge down this layer to this guy here, and then we'll copy it, paste it as well, merge it down like that. So let's take another look. Let's go back into here. Now, if we were to start slowly modifying her, how do we do it? I'll go ahead and I'll slide this guy over here because it'll be our colors. We've already made colors. Let's try to use all the colors we can. And I think to start off, right, it will be important to see about the skin or the face or the eye, something of that nature. So if we go back to here, let's take a look. Now the thing is, Pixel art eyes are a little finicky, I always find. You could make them big, especially for cute characters. You can make them super small for maybe more serious characters. It's just, there's so many ways to do it that it's tricky. Even if I click on, let's see, here, we have some popular pixel art games like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. You can see super big eyes. You can see here from Pokemon, I believe, Black and White, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Pokemon Black and White sprites. The eyes tend to be 2x2, it seems like. If we scroll out a little bit, you can see on here some characters from Stardew Valley, again, 2x2. There's sometimes a little bit of a pattern, sometimes not, depending on the style and the game we're looking for. And I like having these guys up because it helps me understand, okay, what are ideas that have been done? Because usually if you can find games, this is Shovel Knight, if you can find games that have already made something work, then maybe it won't be so painful to actually apply it. This is Octopath Traveler, again, 2x2, so I am seeing a pattern here. Right now, ours is 1. Let's see. Let's try to first grab a skin color, and then we'll grab an eye color, and then we'll go from there. So I'll go ahead and go back to this one here, and let's refine it a little bit. So if I'm looking on here, I'm going to here. This is our skin color, that's our eye color, so I'll just put this here and not there. Make things a little bit easier to see. From there, what I'll do is I will mesh out the face a little bit. I'll modify it a little bit. So we have the skin here. Now, one thing I wanted to make sure was that I started incorporating the outlines more. So that's something I'll do, because when you do it without outlines, you get used to it looking what it looks like without outlines, and then you don't want to go without outlines again. You don't want to add the outlines because it starts looking a little chunky. And that's the hope, is that we don't want it to look chunky. The thing is, our orc gal is quite big and strong, so we want to try to keep that in the original design. So I'm just kind of modifying the body and the head shape a little bit to hopefully make it look a little bit rounder. If we go back to, let's see, this one here, yep, that one there, that way I can see it a little bit better. Even we can take a look at this one here to see the face a little bit more. So there's kind of like two sides to the face, one's in darkness, one's in lightness, which is okay. Maybe what we can do is have an eye kind of come down here, and then an eye kind of come about here, here, something like that. And then we're gonna need some white for some of the eyes, so possibly for now, we'll just have this here, and then we can have an eye. This one's not 2x2. No, it is 2x2, isn't it? So there's this eye like this here. We can even make the eye smaller. There's different things you can do, which I think is so silly. So for now, let's mess around with the eyes a little bit. We want her to look like she's looking to the left. So I'll grab this here, and let's try to let's mess around with the head a little bit. This is the head A. I'll move this down a little bit so you can get some ideas. And that's one thing I like about this, is that there's so many different ways to do it that it's a lot of fun to just experiment. So you never know. We also did a expression study before, and that was super duper fun. Let's see, this could make her look angry, but I kind of think this looks fine. Looks like maybe if we move this guy up a little bit. Oh, hold on. Move just up a little bit. I quite like the downward, truth be told. I think that was fine. I just think maybe we need to make the face longer here. Something like this here. And then if we add, let's say, oh, hold on. Move you back a little bit possibly. And then move that down too as well. Fill that in. That's not too bad. It gives her that tall face that we want her to have. Maybe we can make this a little bit wider. Something like that there. Oh, hold on. Too big. Something like that there. I feel like this part up top could be modified just a little bit. So possibly maybe what we can do something like this here. No. This definitely gives her a bigger head, which I do like. We need to make this area here rounder. And I think that'll be okay. Possibly something like this, because then it leaves enough for us to do our mouth. So if we were to add the mouth, we scroll out a little bit and add the mouth in. It was this color here for the mouth, and the mouth's important because it makes her look like an orc. So we do want to have that color in there. So we do the mouth here, and we do her with a serious mouth. We can do the smile, we can do a frown. But if we do something like this, and maybe move the mouth down a little bit, so let's see, down and over, possibly here. She also has a nose. Did we add a nose to the art? Something like that there, maybe even down a little bit. Something like that there. I think that can possibly work. We need the tusk, don't we? Let's zoom out a little bit, and actually, let's just move our little guys over here so I can see them a little bit better. So we'll grab this tusk here and that tusk there. And I think it would be fun to have the tusk kind of come out a little bit, something like this. So this has to be something like that. Could be pretty fun. A little bit outwards more, and maybe we can remove that for now. And if we do the tusk more like that, what does that leave us with? Something like that there, that there, that there. Yeah, I quite like that, you know? It's okay. She's got a little smile. We could give her a little smile. We could also give her a serious face. We could also remove that there, make her look a little bit more. There's just different expressions you could do. You could even crank this up a little bit down there. Yeah, super fun. Okay, I'm thinking we could keep, let's see, maybe add it here, or maybe even add it here for more. Oh, hold on, wrong color. Need that there, about that there, that there. I think that's okay. If anything, I think her eyes should be moved upwards, like that there, and then move this down here, move that down there. You think that made a difference? If I copy this guy, save it, undo it to move it down. If anything, paste, slide you over. We have this one and this one. Actually, I think this one was better. Let's modify the chin just a little bit to make it not as big. And maybe we can move you down and over a little bit. Nope, nope. Something like that there. That makes her look like she's looking down. We don't necessarily want her to look like she's looking down. We want her to look like she's looking to the side. So to do that, that would be adding in that color there and that color there. And then maybe we'd add in this here, that there, that there, maybe even, let's see. We could try the 2 lines for the eye, something like that there, that there. Not too bad. Maybe then we can add in the mouth about here, like that there, but then the mouth should be downwards as well. Ooh, a little bit of surgery, I think, is in order. Let's try. So I'll copy this, move this down a little bit. And from there, I'm thinking the mouth is a little bit too sideways. So I want to kind of move this over a little bit. Have that there and that there. So then that would be the tusk, right? But then this guy should be over a little bit more. Possibly like this here. Not there, and then that's more neck that we should be able to see. So possibly it should look more so like this. I'm also trying to keep in mind the rest of the body, where usually Pixelart, you want to do something where it's 2 or 3. It wants to count. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually you would maybe want to do this so it doesn't look as much as it's changing. So you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, and 1. That's a possibility, but you don't have to do it if it doesn't serve you. So we could do something like this, and then maybe we can add in some more lines down here. We could also add in, let's see. I think there needs to be more face here. So maybe we can do, let's see, a little, what if her mouth popped out a little bit because of the teeth? Because of the teeth? What if this popped out more like this here? Oh, you know what? This was a mistake. I didn't mean to do it that far, but I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna paste it over here. So then if this went out and up and this went down and then this went out here, yeah, that could be one. And then we can remove this here. Maybe remove some of this here. Let's move some of that there. That's not too bad. Maybe even make her go down to about here. Move that down there a little bit. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I think that definitely helps it look like she's looking the other way. I also like how the teeth look like they're coming out from the side. That was super important too. Another idea was having it come outward a little bit like that there instead of going up. So something like this instead. So what do you think? Those are both options. If I flip this over so that we're seeing it from the other side, it might take more looking to see. The left one feels more accurate than the right one. Does it? Like, this one's kind of growing on me. Maybe we'll keep it for now. This one has a smaller head. Then, oh, hold on. Which one was it? I should be able to see it at either angle and still feel fine. I think this one. This one's probably fine. Maybe we can slide it up a little bit, and that way her mouth can kind of go out a little bit like this here. No. How about that there? Yeah, I think that works out a little bit better. Maybe we can even slide it over a smidge about here. Maybe. If I zoom out, yeah, there's just so many little different things you can do, which is super duper fun. All right, we'll have this come down a little bit. We'll have this guy safe, and then we'll have it move down. So maybe we can do something about there-ish, and then have that there. And then for the nose, we might be able to get away with doing something like this here, where the nose kind of comes out a little bit. Though we should have lighting on the nose. That's what should be important here. Lighting on it, because I'm thinking a nose could go maybe about here-ish. Could be a nose. Could be a pretty good nose there. But the issue is just shading the nose. Usually I see anatomy at least, it's either a circle or it's a highlight. some of these sprites are not mine. Let's see. For example, this sprite's too small. This sprite here has a nose, and it's a little dot. And some of them have lines, some of them don't have lines. The question is, what can we do? What can we possibly do? Maybe we can have this guy in shadow here. And, oh, before we make modifications, right? Also important to save. We'll copy it, move it down, slide this guy down too. And the question then is, if I fill this in, and we kind of have it covering the side of the face here, so something like this here, and this covers the side of her face, how does that look instead? Like something like this here, like that there. I don't think that's too bad, truth be told. Something like that there. But then I think this might need a darker line to show off, hey look, it's the lighter or darker part. So then maybe we can grab this darker green, slide it down, slide it over. I just like going warmer. Some people like doing cooler greens or cooler shades, which I think is fine. I like this a little bit more. Let's see. Yeah, her angry eyes. Definitely though, I think this nose, I enjoy it. I just think it needs a little bit more direction. Possibly. This feels... Yeah, I think I like this. This one's my favorite so far. So we'll keep it. I like that. I like that a lot. Though I don't think we should make her necessarily angry right off the bat. Oh boy, just the eyebrow raise. I think that's fine. That makes her look stoic, doesn't it? We could even add that there for the bottom, but I like the chin idea. Maybe we can add this here, that there. I think that's fine. Maybe we can make this head a little bit bigger. Possibly like that there, that there. I think that can work, though maybe her forehead's a little bit too much. Maybe just shrink it down a little bit. High forehead to low forehead. I think that can work. Right now, I think this is face. We just need the rest of the portions, which is a-okay here. So let's see. I'm thinking this needs to come out a little bit because usually in faces there's a little bit of a bump. So it would be maybe more so something like this here, and then let's see. Slide that up a little bit, so it might be head kind of comes out a little bit, stretch you out over a little bit about here, there, movie there, hold on. Something like that maybe. That feels a little bit too caveman-like. Well, we're going for orc. We don't want caveman. I think we're just back where we originally were, weren't we? Oh boy. Yeah, maybe move. Well, it's not too bad. Maybe if we add in lines here, possibly to show off the dark areas of her face. Something like that there. I could see that working, though the forehead is not working. I know that for certain. Possibly something like that. Maybe even something like that there. Nope. I honestly, you know what? I think this is fine. Maybe we even bend out backwards. Nope. I think this is fine where it is, which is great to see. Okay, from here, right, once we have that, we're also going to need to know where her ear is. You can kind of see the ear here. So let's see, do we make it a long ear? You can make it a big ear, round ear, whatever ear sort of fits you fancy. Let's see, we can have an ear kind of coming out like this here. And we had the ear as pointy, so I'm gonna keep it pointy. Something like that maybe could be our ear, though again, not feeling some of the lines here. So we just modify it. We just sit back and modify a few things. Usually the ear, you would be underneath. Right now what I'm seeing is a lot of head up here, right? A lot of face. Look where that point is. Oh, double clicking made it zoom out. I think she might need more space. Oh, hold on. I think she might need more space down here. So if we move this out a little bit more and move that up a little bit more, the space needs to be about down there, I think. Let's see. Erase you, move you there, there. And yeah, we can see right now the bottom of her face, which is not quite ideal. I think if I grab you here, it would be more so, more amount of head kind of coming back in. But I think our issue is right now that we can't see the hairline. So what I'm gonna do is make a hairline like this. A bit of a hairline so we can see where the hair would come from. And I think a hair would come out a little bit more like this here. Maybe more along like this here. A little bit more of a hairline. And then maybe we can have this kind of sliding over to, maybe down more, a little bit more like that. Down to, up to, something like that there. And then that would be more hairline kind of coming out a little bit. Something like that, where now she has more head. I definitely think that helped. Though something still does feel a little off, so we just modify it a little bit. That's what I do enjoy about these. They're just super relaxing, I tend to find. Maybe we can go down a little bit more here. I think that works well. If anything, I feel like the face is too high. The face is lower there. You know, maybe the face isn't too high. Maybe that's, nope. Okay, never mind. I think it's fine where it is. My mind has been changed. Maybe we can bring that out a little bit more. That's not too bad. It's not too bad. Hold on. Copy you, paste you, slide you over. So initially, it was up here, right? But then we moved it down a little bit. Now you tell me. Well, you won't be able to tell me, but just think of choices. This is what it's all about with Pixelart especially, is that sometimes 1 to 2 pixels can make a difference. I feel like this makes her bigger. This makes her head smaller. This definitely gives more of an orcish feel. So maybe we can modify it just a little bit. Maybe we can move this down a little bit. You know what? Change my mind. I think I like this one a little bit more. So we'll keep it. And let's see. Maybe have that guy kind of coming out by 2. Yeah, I like this one. So we'll keep it. We will keep it. But then look at this. Just telling ya. We started here. Slowly over time, it morphs until we get something we like a little bit more. And then, right, we gotta remember her eyes look like this. So it'd be something like that where we can see some of her eye. We're gonna need the hair and other portions of the body. But that's what I wanted to figure out, the head. Because once you figure out the head, then everything kind of feels a little bit more proportionate. So I'll go ahead and I will see. Let's see, this is this layer. Back layer, we have this layer here. So which layer am I on exactly? I see. Got ya. Okay, well, in that case, I'm just gonna grab you, new layer here. We're going to call this the heads layer, like so. And then from there, we're going to grab, let's see, this head here, or rather, we're going to remove you. Yeah, remove you. And then we're going to go to our heads layer here and grab you, copy you, and paste into you here. And we're gonna move you about where you should be. Make sure that's visible so we can still see. So she has about a head here. And now we kind of have to figure out the rest of the anatomy. Some people like doing everything together. So for example, I focused on refining the head and then they focused on refining everything else. So for example here, they wouldn't do the head necessarily. They might do then the rest of the body, things like that. I like doing the head first because then it sets up an idea of what everything else will be. So I think that goes down there. Yeah, mount that there, and then when we add hair to her body, it should be easier to tell because we know where the hairline is. Oh, right, we gotta remember the ear. Let's touch on that a little bit later. Let's figure out this body, because I think that's where we're gonna have the most issues. Because we have to remember, she has a big frame, a huge frame that we have to worry about. Let's see, maybe we can move you up a little bit about here. And the good news is, right, we do have some space to work with, so it's not too bad. The thing is, usually, the neck depends on how much muscle there is. And since she's big, because she's muscular, she should have a really thick neck. A really thick neck, but it should also be a small head to a big body. That's also important. Let's see. If we make her neck pretty thick, like maybe that thick, possibly about that there, like that. And then we modify it a little bit more. Oh, hold on. That should be that there. That's her neck, just about right. But then the rest of her body should be bigger in proportion to that. For example, here you might have more of her body kind of come out, and there should be maybe more so muscle coming on here. There might be more muscle here, and this is where knowing your muscle groups, especially for muscular characters, can also come into hand. We don't need to worry about them too much at the moment, but I'm just thinking muscles. Where would the muscles go if I were the muscles? And if I scroll out a little bit more, it should also hopefully be able to show you what I'm trying to accomplish here. We have here, I believe, and I'm gonna say these names wrong. I did, before I got really into Pixelart, I was doing regular studies to see if I could understand more about the body parts, because while you don't have to know the names of the body parts, it can help to know what goes where, because that kind of helps with, okay, I know this goes here, for example, this goes here, that goes there. It can be handy. And if I scroll out, I believe we're dealing with the deltoids, which is the shoulder muscle, and now we're dealing with the arm muscles. And there's a lot of arm muscles. You can see here, yeah, deltoid is this kind of garlicky clove shape. So that's what I try to go here. Usually, really, it looks more like, let's see if I can do it correctly. Something like this, and then it comes down a little bit, and then it kind of wraps around. So it looks something more like that. But it's not what mine looks like because we're not drawing it too accurately quite yet. I would like to get better at drawing muscles, so we'll see if we can make her a little bit defined. The issue is we're running out of space very quickly. So it's something we have to keep in perspective at the very least. So let's see, scroll out a little bit. We'll scroll across, scroll over here. Alrighty, gonna go ahead and save this guy here. And you know what? Yeah, you know what? This week we'll do her in her orc form, and I think next week we'll save it for the vampire. So that way we can concentrate all of our efforts into this one guy. Okay, so then she has an arm kind of going outwards. So kind of a big forearm, hopefully we can add in there. Something like that there. Can you see it? I've been trying to get better at drawing just, using singular colors or 2 colors. So they're very, very few colors. And I'm just trying to figure out, okay, hands are probably going to be coming down like this here, about that there. Kind of come inwards, so maybe we can even do something like that there. This is just setting us up for everything to come afterwards, so I'm not at all too worried. We can make this out a little bit bigger, possibly downwards, because that arm is also coming downwards. But we can also see there is a separation, but because she's so big, we might not see that separation. So then we can bring this out here, and this will actually be her neck. Neck's there, which means the rest of her guy is there, about there-ish, I think. So then we might need to have lines coming out and down about there-ish. Yeah, and this probably is going to get also moved over. Yeah, about that way. And then we would see more hand possibly coming about down there. Now, I'm also using areas, or I'm trying to keep in mind what is beside what. So for example here, you see the middle part of her arm is beside her hand. So I'm trying to do the middle part of her arm beside her hand. So I'm doing this here. We might even have to add a line here to show a separation. And oh, make sure I'm on the right layer. Am I? Just double checking. Yep. Okay, good. Okay, so let's fill this guy in here. And the issue is as well, sometimes you get into a drawing and you think to yourself, man, this is gonna look great. And then a little bit later you realize, man, this does not look what I thought. This does not look as I thought. And it's a thing of, do you A, trust the process, or B, start all over again? And I think, there's always argument for both of them. Sometimes it's that realization of this isn't going to go the way I thought it was, so might as well restart it. Or it could just be the thing of give it a little bit more time. It could be, you might not have to remove everything and try all over again. And sometimes it's worth it to, just try a few things. I'm gonna move her neck over here a little bit more. And that way this guy kind of comes over a little bit more. And then, well, it kind of made her hunchback. Hold on. We'll keep that there. I think the arm has to get moved in a little bit. So possibly this guy has to get moved in a smidge, but I don't know if it can because we already have that guy there. Maybe giving her wider arms, we'll see. For now, what I'll do is I will copy this and we will just paste it over here. So in case need be, I need it later, we have it for later. Just in case I make a mistake now, as that's the hope, is that even if we make mistakes, we have the opportunity to fix them. So the rest of the arm kind of comes down and it kind of comes down. So we might just do this here and it comes lower and down a little bit more. And it's okay if we go outside of the guidelines as well, but the core of it should stay in this dimension. So the hope is that it ends up somewhere in that 64 by 64. It doesn't have to be 64 by 64. It just has to feel like it does fit. And because these lines here, these edges are too short, I'm making them a little bit longer. So the decline, and oh, you can't see on the side either. Let me just zoom in here. That way the decline doesn't feel as bad. And then we add in her hand about here. And I'll erase this guy here, move that about here. That hand will go about here, which is fine, I think. I think this is fine. Maybe we can make her hand a little bit bigger and maybe make the ankle, the wrist a little bit bigger because that right now does not feel right. It kind of moves over a little bit. It kind of also rotates a little bit. So possibly like that there. Yeah, her arm stretches outwards. We're making it go backwards. So really, we're gonna need to modify her limbs just a bit. This guy would need to come out a bit, maybe even rotate a little bit about here and come out a little bit more, and then rotate again. Not straight. No, we don't want straight. We want out a little bit, possibly about that there, but that looks a little bit too much. So let's go back a little bit. This is definitely ruining the overall shape, but that's okay. That's what the stage is. Just a lot of mock-ups and trying to understand what goes where. So that you can see, right, hand here, look where it is all the way down here. So really, it should be like there. And then from here, we have this guy connecting downwards, something like that. And then that guy would kind of come down a little bit like that there. I don't know how I feel about that one for now. It's okay for now. Let's just leave it there. We have the knee kind of coming up here. Let's go ahead and add that knee. Now, this arm doesn't quite fit on the knee. So maybe we can kind of, just add in that knee there. And this knee should be big as well, because remember, she's supposed to be a big gal. So we need to have big muscle. So go ahead, maybe add that guy there, add that guy there. Right now we're just trying to carve out the different parts of the body. So we have, like, for example, here, read. I remembered it is thick at the top, thin at the bottom. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And then we have the triangle foot, right? So maybe we can have that triangle foot kind of come out here and come out there, there, there. Again, it's okay to come out if need be. We just want the core of her body to stay in here. We'll have foot here, something like that there. I think we'll be okay. And then there's some thigh also coming along. So we'll see. We can possibly add in thigh about here. The issue just is that sometimes that anatomy might not work well because we can't see it. Well, it's okay. The thing is, some of this might be covered up by clothing. So we might be saved. We might be saved. I'm just trying to get a general feel of this for now. And then we can see how it goes. Something like that there. Hold on. We have that dark guy there. About there. There we are. And then from there, right, we have this foot. And where's that other foot? The other foot's kind of right here. So let's move this guy down a little bit here. About down there. And it's more of a pointed guy. So about there. And then we have a triangle about here-ish. And then we have it kind of coming out and out. Out and out, yeah? It goes like here. Here-ish, there-ish. We just want to make sure we keep in mind the sizing because that's going to be super important, especially when we add everything else and refine the details, if we choose to refine it. We still have that other option if we want to try it, but so far I've been falling in love with this idea, so I don't know if I wanna. I don't know if I wanna do the other one, which is okay too. The hope is that you get so many ideas down that one will stick, one will like, and if you need to take a step back and try a different idea, it'll be there too. So that's always nice to have as a emergency breaking case. This does not look right. That's what I save it for. Then we have her knee kind of coming outwards. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and the knee kind of comes outward here. So that's what I really want to pay attention to, is the fact the knee comes outward here. So then possibly the knee kind of comes up here too. Something up here. That doesn't look right because the knee is coming down diagonally. Mine is coming down in a straight line. So if anything, the knee would have to come something like this. That would be the knee. Something like that there. And to give that feeling, what we can do is I can grab this layer and then I can have the knee idea. So this is the middle of the pelvis, right? And then we have the knee. So the knee would kind of come here. And from that, I just moved this guy below layer. So I made a new layer. So the knee might come about there, then maybe a little bit less on the knee about out there. So possibly out there. And then we can add the outline. So I can do Shift O for this outline here. Click OK on that guy there. And then it might be more knee here. And more knee about here. So that's about the idea down. There's still some more parts that we have to modify. But overall, I quite like it. So with that said, right, what we'll do is we'll move all the heads over here. Like that. We'll go ahead and move her small version over here. Like that there. And we have to keep in mind, the good news is she doesn't have a lot of clothes. Bad news is she doesn't have a lot of clothes. So we're going to have to be very specific when it comes to the muscles and what muscles we show. Let me go ahead and grab our back layer here. I'm going to copy you, paste you, drag it down about here. We'll go ahead and grab her. Let's see, that's the muscle in the front, muscle in the back. We'll go ahead and merge this down. So this is our next try. I'm going to copy this layer, new layer, paste, grab you, move you about there, and let me get some coffee, and then we'll continue. So let's see. Tasty. The thing is, I've been on a pumpkin spice binge for the last few weeks, and so I realized I'm gonna need to clean my palate so that everything doesn't taste like pumpkin spice. So today we just have it. We kept it simple. We kept it simple and sweet. It didn't need to be as complicated as I was making it out initially to be. So let's see here. Oh, excuse me. We have here our small version, and I'm just gonna grab it because this is the one we really want to pay attention to. So new layer, paste here, and then we're going to drag you about up here because those are the colors. And we also need to keep in mind, right, the bear pelt and everything. That can be important too. That can also play a part. And we have here, this is our BG, and this here is our sketch. And this is kind of more of our final-ish layer. So I think we're fine as keeping it there. The nice part is, because we already have the colors, it should hopefully be a little bit easier to understand what's going on. So let's see if we can get away with this. For example, we know we have that collar there. We can also see some of the neck. this guy kind of comes and, oh, that is not what we're looking for. Paintbrush. She's just an adorable little paintbrush. That's cute. There you go. We're back to what we have. You can kind of see there's a through line going through her neck. We don't have that here. There's no, it kind of works, kind of not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this a little bit, just a smidge. For example, I'm going to bring her head down a little bit, about there-ish. I think we'll be fine. And then from there, we can see that's where her neck is. So actually, this is fine. Let's go ahead and add that ear that we had initially. So maybe possibly like that there, and make sure to have the ear pointed. So about there, 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 and there. Another thing is, in her ear it was a bone ear or bone ring. So I would like to add that to the bigger bigger design. I think it would be great. So we'll also keep that in mind. It's the thing of, because we have such a small sprite, it might not be as visible, but because we're working on a bigger guy, now it might be handy. And you can see as well, the hand here on the ground, pointing forward a little bit more, and this knee. So it seems like the reference took that idea, and we might be able to modify it a little bit more. So that's good. It's good to know. Okay. Because initially it was a one-to-one pose idea, but I like how some of the portions of her body look. So let's add a little bit more on that. For example, here, her knee is in the front, while in this one, the knee is to the side, and that helps a lot. So maybe we can modify this a little bit, possibly, because I like the picture, I think, a lot better. So maybe what we can do is grab this guy here, move it over out a little bit more, but the issue is, it's tricky. It is super duper tricky. So what I might try to do is first remove all of this here, keep that back foot, and again, the good news is if I should need to redo some portions, I can, because we have the space. Fill that guy in, might be that guy there, and then that's one arm, that's the other one there-ish. And then if the knee were to be possibly like this, so the thunder, the thunder, under the thigh comes up about there-ish, paste that in there. And then we have the knee to possibly come out and down. You can also see the foot is not as where it was. And again, we have the backup, so we can change it if we don't end up liking it. It's kind of directly below the foot, the hand and the foot, you can kind of see there. So I'm gonna move that there. This gets moved about down here-ish, it seems like. And that guy gets moved down and up. So really, this hand goes down, this foot goes up a little bit, and then this other foot kind of comes down. So we kind of have a foot that goes down, down, and then another foot about here. That foot's in the background, so it might even be a little bit smaller. So maybe we can even do something like this here. Something like that there. And then that would be the other foot. So we have the back of the foot and then the front of the foot, which might be more so like that-ish there. Kind of sort of there. And then the front foot. So that might be a little bit better to show off more of her body, which I think would be a great idea. So we'll add that in there here. Okay, so now that we have this, and let me also add in the extra parts, the extra pots, and the foot, and we have this kind of raised. So that there. Yeah. So let's see. We have this one here. I think this one might be a little bit better. Oh, we forgot to move the arm over as well. So I think it'll show off a little bit more frame, which I am happy for. So let's see, move this out a little bit up and over, possibly up there, which leaves more of this thigh here, about there, and more room here as well. If that comes out and about, so we can kind of modify it a little bit more because that's then more muscle here, and then that's more knee, and that knee should come down a little bit more and over, so possibly even like that there. We move that guy down, and the knee kind of comes out, and more here and here. So that might look a little bit better, just from a perspective-wise. So this guy is a little bit too small, so I'm gonna have to move you, or not small, too short. It would be a little bit here, more so about there-ish, I think would be a little bit better. Okay, now let's try to go from non-sketch, shall we? So what I'll go ahead and do is I'll copy this guy here, copy and paste, slide you back over here. Let's go ahead and grab our background guy, and it seems some of the background was cut off. Interestingly enough, you can see it a little bit, but it's okay. We're fine to keep that background guy there. So we have our sketch or good guy good to go there. That guy there? Yep, okay. So let's continue. Let's see here. We zoom in a little bit. Now the question is, what other parts of her body are visible? Not many. We do have some bare parts, right? We want to make sure we get on. So I'm going to grab this color here. And actually, I'm going to grab this brown color. It's a little bit easier to see. So I'm thinking big bare paws over her body, right? we need to make sure we can see that part of her bare head. So we have this here, and oh, right, her hair, right? Let's go ahead and I'm realizing as well, should add a new layer. That would make things a little bit easier. So let's see. This kind of covers part of her face, so I don't want to do too much. I kind of want to do something like this, where sometimes they usually do it, where the half of the orc's hair is shaved off. So I might even do something like this here. Something like that could work out. And then we're going to need the rest of the bare head. So let's see. This guy here would come up and around. It would sit on top of her head, so we can also add that here, and then the hair would come on top. This guy would kind of go about over and down that way, possibly even like that, so that the hair can come underneath. And then we have a big head here for underneath. So something like that there. Paste you in, erase that there. Yeah, a little bit. We can work on the details later. We just want to get the feel of it down. That's always what I try to do. I start off with the body, we get a feel of the body, and now we're doing a big old sketch to see where else we need to do. For example, here, I know there's probably going to be a bare ear here. We're also probably going to have to do with the bare maw. I also have a little bit coming down and up, so that might be it. Might have to make this even taller here because more bare head. So something like that here. Move you about out there, maybe a bit back here. Maybe even fill you in, maybe make you a little bit backwards here. And this would be where references would also come into play, just different portions. For example, here I think the bear background would be a good idea. So we'll add that here because I think the back of the bear would be visible in some of these areas. So I'll add that in. We can also see as well as, oh, you would also be here because it's not being covered. Possibly something like that. The issue is I did do some layering, so it's not on the same, but it's okay. It's all right. We're okay. We can see some of the pelt being used in some of the body. So I'm thinking about here would be where some of that pelt would be, and then it possibly would come up a little bit like that and over, and then possibly a little bit behind, because that would be behind the body. So something like this would come down a little bit here, and then that would come up and over. So I think that's fine there. And then this guy would come about down here, and it's coming over the pelt. So I think we're fine there. I'm just filling things in. I'm trying to think to myself, trying to think to myself, what would go where and why? For example, here, because we know that's the part of the wolf pelt, that would come a little bit up and over. The issue is just going to be figuring out the rest of this body anatomy, which is okay. We can do this. It's just a matter of perspective. I think this part of the body's fine. It's this area here I think might need a little bit more restructuring, which is okay. So I'll go ahead, merge this layer down since we're using it. And then I'll think to myself, okay, we have this arm kind of coming out here. So we'll do this arm about down here. Now, if the arm comes straight downwards, then this is also going to come straight downwards. But then it looks like she's kind of, it looks like an awkward pose. So we're going to move this arm out a little bit, and that knee needs to go in a little bit. So something like that I think might be a little bit better, where the arm is coming outwards. And I think that might work out a little bit better. And we're also going to erase the knee for now. We just want to deal with the arm for the moment. So maybe what we can do is move this arm. I also think it's a little bit too long. So maybe something like that up a little bit. And we have that kind of coming down. So let's see. Move it down and around town like that. Add in more lines about here. So remember, she's muscular. So we also want to show off muscles. That's important too. Maybe we can make it a little bit rounder here, around that area there. But I don't think that quite works well. It looks like her arm isn't placed properly, if that makes sense. This part of the arm looks like it would face towards us, but then this arm faces backwards, and that doesn't quite feel right. I think what might be a possibility is if we did... Okay. You know what? Delete you. Yeah, there you are. So we have first the part of her top of the body, something like that there for the, what is it called? The bicep, I believe. And then we have the rest of this here. So either we have the arm reach out or the arm can reach downwards. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see this arm kind of comes outwards. So if we go back to here, go back to you here, and we have you reaching downwards, maybe tilt you even a little bit about down there, about there, I think that works out a little bit better. We have it kind of coming and wrapping around, about there, about like that there, I think would work out a little bit more in our favor. And this guy can come, yeah, I think that's fine. Something like that. And this guy's coming downwards, so it's coming downwards and outwards, it seems like. So possibly, let's see, make sure it's thin at the bottom. So possibly something like that there. And then that's the rest of the body and the arm. So something like that there. And the forearm, it kind of looks like a diamond, so it kind of comes out a little bit. And then it kind of comes out and inwards. So something more like this, but we don't want to go too in because, not ankles, what are they called? Wrists. Wrists themselves are a little wonky too with figuring out how to make them look. So something like that there. This looks more like a leg, which is okay for now because this is just sketching. Let's see, something like that there, that there. I think this is fine about here, here. Let's see, that's about a straight line, but then this kind of cuts inwards. So maybe we can even do a little bit more cut inwardy about here. And then let's see, basically about here, here, here. About there-ish, I think can work out possibly fine. Move this so it's about 2, 3, possibly make it about, let's see, 3, nope, we want 2-ish, 2, 3. You make you that there, that there. Yeah. The thing is, this reaches the other foot. So the hand here's fine. The hand is fine. It's that rest of everything else that's not so fine. Let's say slide you over a little bit here. And I'm thinking maybe pop you out just a smidge here. And you need to come downwards. Let's see. Come down a little bit, possibly like that. Slide you up a little bit more so we still get more of that figure. I think that's fine. And this kind of comes out and downward, so possibly you can do something like this, 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 this. How does that look? Not the best, I'll be honest, but it's okay. It is okay. Let's see. Move you about down there, about down there. How does that look? We kind of have you kind of popping out and popping back in about here. I think that looks better. I do. Let's see, have that forearm about here. Possibly even move you up about there, move you back down there, there, there. Yeah, I think this is better. The only issue is this guy might need to be a little bit thicker because the wrist at the moment is not quite looking too nice. So possibly, let's see, maybe we can move this in a little bit here. Maybe even move you. Nope, I think that has to be out just a little bit, possibly about there. Move you about there, there. Hold on, grab you there, grab you there, grab you there. Maybe even move you up about there, there. I think that's okay. The issue is just the length of the body, and that's okay too. I think I chose just a difficult pose, just 2, okay. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, and then possibly like that there, that there. I definitely think this needs to come down a little bit more, possibly about there, there-ish. The issue is just that turn does not go well when we start to look at the wrist. Possibly, maybe we can bring this up a little bit more, something like that. Oh, hold on. Don't know this music. I'm not sure if it's copyrighted, so we'll just make sure we do that and make sure it is looped. There we are. Yeah, you get cool, boy. You can't ever be certain, can you? Then we have this part that goes up, and then the hand comes out. So kind of like this would be our hand, and the hand kind of splays outwards because it's on the ground. So maybe something like that. And then we have the thumb kind of coming up and out. So maybe something like this. Like that there, and like that there. I think that can work. Hands are always and will forever possibly be hard. You know what? I think there's a hope. There's a possible hope that maybe you do them enough, hands won't be as painful as you think they will be. They're gonna be painful for quite a long time, but you know what? It's the fact that you keep trying, despite the pain of hands. Eventually, eventually, it might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might not even be the day after tomorrow, but eventually it might look fine. You know, it just takes some time. And right now, I don't have time. You know, I would love to have time, but it's just hands, man. They're hard. They're painful. It's just a matter of trying to mess around with shapes. Thinking to yourself, okay, this kind of goes up a little bit. So maybe if we whack it up, maybe if we whack it a little bit down. That's all I'm really doing. I'm just messing around with shapes and hoping that eventually it'll look fine. For example here, if I right click this guy and click on draw, I have that wrist already, that curve of the wrist, right? We then kind of have that thumb coming forward. So that's what I have, or I'm trying to have that thumb coming forward. So something like that. And then we have a flat line and a bump that goes down. And then it's just a flat line everywhere else. So with that idea, right, let's see. We have this high U there. And then you go downward, so possibly down like that there. And then you go down even more about here, possibly even out a flat, sort of flattened down, possibly even like, let's see, that there. And then once you're there, you kind of come out around a little bit. Not too much though, just a little bit. But I don't know if we can show off that out and around quite well, which is okay. You know, it's okay. It's fine. It's okay. Something like that I think can work out okay. It doesn't look too bad, truth be told. It's that the thumb's got to come down a little bit more. But now it kind of looks like earmuffs, doesn't it? It doesn't look like, or mittens. She now looks like she has mittens. So I'm thinking possibly come up a little bit more here. Then bring that thumb in, possibly about there, right? Possibly. It's not gonna look the prettiest, but that's okay. We just want it to feel like it's possible. We can worry about making it really pretty when we get to that skill set. I just want to try. That's the hope of this. We don't need to make her hands pointy, but that also might help with the idea of it feeling not like mittens. So I might make her thumb pointy. That way it doesn't feel like mittens. But it feels super duper thick is my issue. Maybe we can make this come, let's see, flat a little bit more. Possibly like that there. Nah, that doesn't feel right. Maybe it's a thing of her arms or her hands are too big. Maybe slide that in a little bit there. Slide that in a little bit there. No, that definitely feels too big. I think, well, no, hold on. I think that's fine. Let's move this up a little bit here. About there-ish. Move that in, there. Move that down a little bit, possibly. Oh, hold on. Actually, do that. Yeah, we need to have that as 2. If we have that as 2, we have this kind of arm, or let's see, wrist kind of coming up and down. It'd be more so like that. And then we'd have it coming out, and it would look a little bit on more diagonal side. So possibly like this. And then the thumb would actually maybe be pointed more so that way. So something like that, I think, might work out a little bit better. That feels better. I don't know if it feels nice, but it feels better. And I'll take it. So since I'm taking it, I'm going to make sure I make backup because backup is handy. I'll copy and paste it, slide you over there. There you go. All right. So from there, let's see. We've got a little bit of knee. Knee does touch the ground. Now, for the darker area of light, we'll also make sure to add in the darker portion. So something dark like this, where this is the darker side of the skin. So right now, what we're doing is we're not adding detail. We're just trying to get the outlines of things. We're going in, we're defining, we're defining, but we're not adding detail. We're just trying to get the flats of her body down. That way later, it won't look so bad when we add in the detail. Because if it looks nice without everything nice and sparkle, then we know we're onto something here. I'm thinking of doing something like this for her leg, which shouldn't be too bad because we can't see it. And you know what they say, if you can't see it, is it really bad looking? No, because you can't see it. And nice news is she has clothing that makes it a little bit hard to see. So you know what? Great news for us. I'm thinking we bring this down a little bit here. Possibly. I see a lot of heel going on up here. So I might try to bring in that heel idea. It's about heel maybe here. Here. Well, the heel would be round. So you might actually see something like that there. And I'm wondering, do I do this color and that color? I think that's fine. And we might actually also move this up, down a little bit more. Possibly. Or we might move the heel up. Either or is gonna have to work because that heel shouldn't be lower than the hand. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, the hand seems a little bit too short, doesn't it? I feel like the hand would be a little bit longer. So, let's make it a little bit longer. I'm gonna grow and grab you here, you here, you here. Maybe we can just make you a little bit longer. I also think maybe you should come in just a smidge. Maybe here and here. And then move you in here, add you in there, there. Move you down a little bit there, there. About there, there. And actually, you should come up a little bit, about there-ish. So we'll come up a little bit, about there-ish. Possibly a little bit down. Yeah, sorta, yep, like that there. And then this guy here would come upwards. So you would only see the base of it. So it would kind of come upwards about there. And then I think we'll be okay. I don't know yet. Don't let me be the decider of these things. This guy would kind of have its lines. So you would have, let's see, this line here, this line, and we'll change these colors when we get to the rest of the art. We're just outlining everything now in the same color because it makes it easier on us. We don't have to worry about the outlines. We're just worrying about, okay, this skirt is supposed to be brown or gray, so we're keeping it gray. That's what we're worrying about at the moment. That is the only thing. It's just the thing of, okay, that's that color, that's that color. So we'll keep it as that and that. Done and done. Let's see. For this guy here, I think it's fine to do this here. And then this guy needs to come inward, and then it needs to come outward. And that's the issue, where the hand feels like it's not long enough. It also feels too wide. Gonna go, well, no, hold on. This guy, I think, has to come inwards. So might have to, again, do a little bit of surgery here, Gloria. My apologies, it's not you, it's me. Move you in about here, and slide you in about there, and then move you about, let's see, knee there, knee there. So the knee comes downward, so really, this should be coming downward about here. Yeah, you should be coming downwards, and you should be coming downwards. So then that comes down there, like that. That feels a little bit better, because that's where the knee's going for. Something like that there, that there. That way it doesn't feel like it's connected to the hand. That's what I'm trying to go for. I'm throwing my words a lot today, aren't I? Weird. Let's see. And for here, I'm thinking we could add you there, so it doesn't feel as bad. Maybe move you there, maybe move that there. Nope, I think that's fine. We'll keep it like that. It's a little bumpy, but it's okay. I haven't done a drawing like this in a while, so I'll give myself a lot of grace. Oh boy, let me get some coffee. My number one goal is to make something better than I did last year. This was year 1, right? This is year 2. Do you think you can see the change? I hope so. I definitely do. I'm not even done yet, but I can certainly see a difference. I feel different, which is good. That's step 1. We can worry about the other steps later. Right now, it's just about feelings. How do you feel? I feel great. Let's see. Okay. Let's slide this guy up a little bit. Slide you up. And I'm just trying to round things out a little bit more. We could, there's argument for not going willy-nilly everywhere else we can say, but you know, sometimes you get bored. Not sometimes. A lot of the times I get bored very quickly. So what helps me is bouncing from place to place. What matters is that you don't leave that place and that you do come back. Very important, you know, as long as you make sure to come back. Is there any harm in leaving for a little bit? No, I don't think so. Like, maybe so. Oh boy, I've been playing just a smidge of League here and there, and having a Bard support, to any of you that know it. When they leave, everything goes terrible. That's all I'll say. Let's see, go back to here, wrap you around a little bit more, and we're gonna drag you down a little bit more. Like that. Yeah, maybe. You seem decent. You know, I feel like we're gonna get along, you and I, just well. If you listen and do exactly as I say, then I think we'll get on swimmingly. Maybe this can come up a little bit more. Something like that doesn't feel too bad. That arm's coming downwards, which is good, because we need to worry about this foot. And the good news is the foot is in the background, so it's not like we have to worry about it too much, but we do have to worry about it. It is important. We can also shade this since it is in the background. This foot kind of comes out a little bit too. So something like that there, and then that there, and oh, I think I see a foot. Hold on. We have this kind of coming up, and that gets wrapped around. That goes down a little bit. And you know what? I think that counts. I think we're okay, because this would be the top of the foot, possibly. And we would see more possibly of the leg, but it's okay. We don't need to. And a lot of the important parts can just be implied. Because if we can leave it to the reader's imagination, the better for us. Because we don't need to show off everything. We can leave it to the theater of the mind. We can leave it just like with the game. You know, the game is all about showing off that you don't have to have shiny graphics in order to make a really fun RPG game. So you know what? Maybe it's close to heart. The question is, have this guy come in. Have this guy come in a little bit more here. Maybe bring this guy up a smidge. Up by 1. Maybe round him out a little bit more. About there. Let's see, there. And then that guy, you could possibly come out and down a little bit. Possibly there. Let's see, there. And then this guy could be... You come in a little bit. You need to be straighter up here. So possibly up there. But you're not thick enough. That's the issue here. I'm seeing a few shapes going on. What I'm seeing is, I'm seeing a flat trapezoid, and then I'm seeing a little round guy. What's mine? Not a flat trapezoid. That's not what I'm saying. So let's try again. Let's see. Flat trapezoid, right? And we'll use our lines here. So we have a line here, and then we have a line here for flat. We're going for tall, flat trapezoid. I'm not saying that, so I'm gonna morph my pixel art until I see it. So we kind of have that guy going up by 2. Let's see. You go up by 2, you go up by 2, you go up by 2. That's definitely not a really tall trapezoid. So let's try again. We have this guy here, that guy there, and then that would possibly be our trapezoid. It kind of looks like a triangle, but it's okay. But you can see, right, now that we have that trapezoid shape, we kind of need to move this guy outwards, it seems like, as it's going out and in. It's kind of sliding along that trapezoid a little wonky. So possibly what we could do is do something like that. And then we have the heel, but we don't see the heel of the foot. So you might not even have to worry about it because it's up there where we don't go because it's scary. And it's only scary for the moment. We'll conquer it another day. We don't have to conquer everything at once. But now that we have that done, let's see. That kind of comes out. If we remove the trapezoid, does it feel like it could be a foot? You know what? It does. I just think possibly we can move this down a little bit here and maybe even extend it out a little bit more. There, maybe even down a little bit here. I think it looks less like a hoof now. Possibly. Maybe there. I think that can work. I think that's okay. We don't need a lot, and it's okay. Maybe we can even add in the back of the heel, possibly, but again, might be pushing it, might not be. It's just a matter of trying, and that's all you can really ask for, can't ya? And I realized, nope, I don't like it that way, so we're not gonna do it that way. I'm just wondering, should we do something like that, and then that? No, that definitely looks like she has a heel now. I think maybe even leaving it up to the imagination up here is fine. Like that there? I think that's okay. And then we have the back of the coat, kind of like that there. So it kind of wraps over and under. Do you see it? And now we worry about the rest of the bottom of her body. Fun, isn't it? So we'll go ahead. We'll save this here, copy it, and hold on, copy, paste you there. We don't really have an official part or area to do it at. So we're gonna move you there, and then we're gonna move you here. Like so we can keep better track of what's what. Alrighty, Gloria. Your leg. No longer will it be towed. You will be fixed. You will be renewed. And to start off, what I'll do is, because you can see, right, that heel of the foot is right next to that thigh. So if this is our heel, there's gonna be thigh right about here. We also have to make sure we do the lines. So if there's thigh going on about right there, right? A lot of thigh, actually. So it kind of comes down and then it comes up. And there's like whole knee going on here. Something like that, really. So I'll fill that in. About knee there, real knee slapper up in here. Do that there, that there. So something like that I think is a little bit more appropriate. I feel like there's more meat on them bones. Something like that there. Like that. And then we kind of have it down here. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase this because I don't think it's helpful. I just think we need this leg here. I think that's the real handy-dandy notebook. Let's see. You kind of move up more so you would kind of go up here. And we'll add in the bear coat later. So if it needs to get destroyed, that's okay for now. We're just trying to fill in our gaps. Let's see. That knee would kind of come up, I think. And then it would come backwards. So then we would get, let's see, something like this here. And then we would get that another triangle foot going on here. Do you see it? Where we have triangle. There we go. Triangle. And then another guy here. Really would kind of go through the circle. That's usually what they say about feet, is that we kind of do something like that where you can see the cone. But, you know, thinking through shapes is difficult, but it does help. And that's why I'm able to see these shapes a little bit clearer, because I do have a bit of a 3D-ish background where I can see, okay, that's part of it, and then, let's see, you draw it underneath, and that way you can see where shapes go in shapes, and what shape do shape thing. So, if you think Pixelart you can get away with not knowing it, knowing how to use shapes can be handy, because they help you do fun things. This guy would actually need to come, and we're now I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this isn't a correct box, but it's okay. That was just for demonstration purposes. So it's alrighty. So let's see here. We have this leg, and it's coming downwards. You can see that's a straight line there. Let's do our straight line here. And again, we want to make sure her limbs look thick. That is important. You can also see something to do with the, I don't know what muscle it's called. It is the thigh. The thigh, the foreleg, the, you know, I thought these would be handy. They're not quite. It's this thingy here. The peronis longus. Yep. That was probably not even anywhere close, but it's okay. We just really have to only know the shape. It doesn't matter too much if we don't know the look of it. It's like with the arm. The arm is like a diamond, like that. The leg, too, is like a diamond. So you just have to remember, diamond. And all I'm doing is thinking, okay, so if this comes outwards, like diamond, right? It's got to go inwards. So if this guy comes out a little bit more so like that, and then that guy comes inwards, so something like this, fill that in, right? Got to make sure. And it doesn't have to be accurate, too. That's the other thing. If we don't want it to be one-to-one with actual anatomy, that's okay too. It does not have to be if we don't want it to be. It's just a fun thing to do because it can help with the feel of what we're going for. I also think this knee can go up a little bit more. So something like this even. And now we can kind of drive it down and around town. So something like this, have it come down about there. And then we have the knee come down, and then you come down. And then we have that triangle, right? And also, it does not curve. It is a bone. So no curving allowed. Let's see, can we do this down by 2? Like that? I think that would work. And then we just fill this in here, like that. There we are, okay. So from here, once it's coming out a little bit, out and then down, I think this is fine, truth be told. I think this guy is a-okay. We need the foot. So we have that triangle guy again, right? So triangle guy, and we know the foot kind of comes outwards. So foot kind of comes outwards like this here. And we have the triangle guy kind of coming out here. Let's see, flat about there. Something like that-ish. Yes, and sort of, kind of. We'll see. Let me get some more coffee. I definitely think it's either too long, or no, too short or too thick. I think that's our issue here, which is, again, okay. It's just something to notice. For example here, this line looks like it goes this way, and that's not what we're saying, right? So what we'll do is we'll modify you up here, modify you here, and I do like this leg. I do want to keep it. It just needs to be moved, I think. So we're going to move it up and tilt it a little bit, possibly about here. I think here might work out a little bit better, because really, this guy's coming up, and it needs to look like it's going upwards. So something like that up there. And then it comes maybe, hold on, wrong color, about there, maybe about there, and then we can kind of slide it upwards so it looks like it's coming up. And then that's where that knee kind of crosses over. So we have this knee kind of coming over and around town. Something, yes, like that. And then from there, let's see. I think we can get more knee going, more knee action here. So I think this is fine. Something like that there. And I think then this guy here needs to be slid over. So that's all we'll do. We'll just grab our part here and slide you over, just a little bit. And now we can add maybe another line here. Grab this color here, fill you in. You would come in about there. And now we can see about that too, or yeah, something like this I think is better. Like that. There we are. I didn't have the before and after, so I can't quite show you the difference because the thing is, I try my best to do before and after, but sometimes I just get in the groove and I forget to save, which is not good of me because, you know, sometimes when you forget to save and then you actually need to save, and the good news is I'm recording. So if I really want to, I can always go back into the recording and see what it used to be, what could have been, which is nice. I'll never have the actual file back, but this is close enough, getting the recording itself. And I'm wondering, just the line here. We have, I think it's fine. It feels a little bit too long now. Like this knee, it's either the knee is too tall or something's off. Something is certainly off. Let me try modifying this here. Rotating you here. No. If we look at their previous drawings, you can see the direction is a little bit different, which is fine because she was standing a different way. But if we, for example, look here and look here, the knee, now that it's turned to the side, is a little funny, which is okay. Maybe we can try the leg or the foot. That might give us some clarity on where to go. So I do like how this is turning out already. So we have it kind of coming up. We have that triangle that we were seeing before, right? So let's add that triangle in about like that, about like that there. And then from that triangle, let's see, we would then have the rest of the foot, the kind of flat portion. So it might be something like out here, and then kind of go out here, and then maybe a little bit up, a little bit, and then down here. So something like, I think here might work for foot. And then I'll fill this in, remove the triangle, and that kind of feels like it works, doesn't it? If I zoom out a little bit, I press escape, and I grab this art, copy it, move it back down so it's at the bottom. If we're looking at my foot and their foot, oh, this one here, kind of fine. This foot is a little bit more foreshortened because it's pointing toward the camera. So I might just grab this and move it over a little bit. And then, oh, I don't want to move it down. I just want to slide it over because it's more of a line like this. Something like that there would work out a little bit better. And then let's see. For this here, the ankle, I like the ankle. The ankle needs to have a bit of a curve kind of coming down. So I might add something like this here for that extra curve. You can add that there, maybe add that there, and then add that there and there. Something for an extra curve there-ish. Maybe even add you here and do that there. That's not too bad, actually. It's just that this straight line, you can see, not my straight line. So whatever happens here needs to be that straight line. So I'm thinking maybe we can modify it so you're about... Well, let's move you for a second. You, I will no longer need. You're no longer in need of service. You're fine and good to go. We have leg come up like so. Like this. Orc. And then from there, let's see. We have you sliding down and maybe a little bit more down. Yeah, you can kind of see where the limb looks like it's going up. So possibly like that there will be fine. And I think it will be fine. It'll have to be fine because I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's okay. We're going! And that's the important part here. If anything, it looks like it comes down and then comes up. You kind of see that chunky bit of flesh there. Like, click, draw on here. We have log, like that. That's what I'm trying to draw here. That log sort of feel. It's pretty thick at the bottom, truth be told. So it might even be something like this. Log, like that there. And then we have this guy here, kind of coming down. Though we don't want it to look too much like it is part of the fabric. So it might be something more like log, like that. Oh, hold on. Less log, a little less log. It's okay, Sprite. You don't have to give her too much log. Something like that there. Now, we don't have to worry too much about the lining at the moment. It's okay. Now, from our degree, right? So from our knee, we go straight down. I can't do the line, but it goes straight down. So from here, and I'll grab a black color to make it will have a little bit more sense. We go straight down, and it might end up, let's see, straight down. So if I count my numbers and do my calculations, I'm thinking the foot would end up about here. Possibly. And now we just have to add the extra portions. So this guy might come out a little bit more and then come down. Yeah, I think we just have to add it. Right now she's got a different type of leg. So possibly we can do up a little bit more like this. And then we can have it kind of come, let's see. If I do this here, that there, all of you guys here, yep. This guy kind of comes out a little bit more and then comes down a little bit. So possibly even something like this can work. And then we just need to wrap you around in a nice pretty little bow. Wrap you down and around like that there. You there, fill you in there. And like that. How does that look, do you think? Now I think she has too much leg, I'll be honest. I'm not liking it, which is okay. That's the important part here, is recognizing what you like and dislike and then changing it to suit her needs. So let's try again, shall we? Let's see, go up here a little bit, up there. So you know this guy comes directly downwards. So if I'm doing about up 4 like this, we have up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4. This guy then is 4, and we do another 4 here. We can keep up this 4 pattern, and it won't make it look as choppy. So I can do up like 4 there. However, I think the leg is out a little bit too much. So let's just modify it. And you know, let's also do a test too. I'm wondering, is this the same as that? No, it's not. So I'll go ahead and I'll also do a sprite. Oh, wrong sprite. We do you. Nope, we don't need you. Don't need you. I can close you. We're fine with you. I can close you too. We'll do sprite, canvas size, big old gal here. Make the canvas bigger. So I can grab our previous guy. So move this guy over a little bit. I want to grab you here. That way I can do a side-by-side comparison with what we will have and what we do have. Like that there. Copy that guy. Okay, so where were we? I'm thinking we move it a little bit. So if I slide this over so you can see the two comparisons, how well can we have it be shown? I'm a little in the way, unfortunately. So you know what? Maybe I can put it up here for now. Maybe. We'll see. Then I need to see it, so I need to move it like there. Okay, I think we're good. So you can see the left versus right. Tell me which one you think more, and I actually do need to see the side a little bit. There we are. Okay, so I need the lasso. And what I want to do is move up her leg or move up this other body part. So, for example, I'm thinking move this up, and I'm also thinking move this up a little bit as well. So something about here-ish, I think would work out a little bit better. Yeah, you see how that added a little bit of definition? However, now I think this knee is pushed in a little bit too much. So what I'll do is see about maybe just pushing that in a bit there. Yeah, for input from this to this. I think that works out a little bit better, but now I think the leg is too, let's see. Possibly we can maybe move you out and up, like that and that. And how does that fare thee? I think you're fine. Let's move you up a little bit here, about there, there, there. I think this works out better, wouldn't you say? We have the initial one, though this leg here, I don't like the leg. I think the leg could use some changing around, which is fine. We kind of have the leg come out and then in. So possibly what we can do is just morph the leg to come out here. But I don't like the way that looks either. It doesn't look like it's muscly. So what I'll do is I'll undo our leg movement. Because I think this was better than what we had. I think this is finer than what we originally had. So I'll keep it. Again, it's not about making it perfect. I just want it to be. We can move it later or maybe even not move it at all. Because again, this is a year's worth of work. I think just that alone and moving and changing the thigh so it goes upwards helped a lot. So we're keeping it. So now that the lower half of the body is complete, now we move on to the upper half of the body. So what I'll do is I'll move this guy back over so I can see everything on my screen. We'll grab you here. We will move you down here because that's where you belong. We'll then copy you, paste you, and also move you down here because you're the new guy. From there, let me get some coffee and then we'll continue. I said 2 hours, didn't I? It's already about an hour and a half. Making good time, truth be told. We just have to do the upper body and then we can add the flats and everything else and it shouldn't be too bad, I think. We'll see. Tasty, tasty coffee. Okay, let us continue now, shall we? The unfortunate news is because we did the muscles the way we did the muscles, it's kind of a little off, but it's okay because we have the back of everything else. So I might actually just copy this and, oh, hold on, I can see his. Okay, I think I'm good. We can just copy this if we'd like and delete this, paste this here, like so until it lines up. I don't know where it lines up at though, so fortunately, might just be stuck with it for now, which is okay, you know, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so moving up from the rest of the body, the hand should be more in the center of the pelvis. The hand is not in the center of the pelvis. So what we can do is just immediately drag some of those guys over. And the hope is that maybe we can show off our abs a little bit too, now that the pose is getting moved over. So you would actually go up here, something like that maybe even about there, because that goes about above. Yep, and if that is the case, this kind of gets raised up, so I'll move this here, because the arm's gonna need to come out more, something like that there. That would be more where the arm comes out. Actually, if anything, this would kind of come outwards about there. About there would be where the muscle would be, I think. And then we'd have it come down and have a bit of a point. So I think it's fine. This would be your top muscle, and then this guy here would need to be modified so that it is a singular one. So let's see. You would actually need to be... Hold on. Something's off here. What's angry? Let's move you here, and let's see. You there, and then you need to come along this line here. So I'll erase this, and that way we can have a fresh, clean start. and see where the line would come down at. So that would be our muscle. There you go. And then this guy here, we would maybe move you there, move you there, move you there, and then that would be all arm. Like that. And then we can see about possibly adding more to the muscular system, because that is also neat, isn't it? Kind of coming out and down. So I think this is fine, especially because you can see the knee also come out and down there too. So possibly knee there, and knee there, and then the arm would come downward. So I'm seeing forearm. I think that's fine, because really it would be more so like that there. We don't have to be specific about the muscles. We just need to acknowledge that they exist. That's the key here. Let's see. Move you about here. Move you about here. Well then, hold on. Erase you here. Now for the hand here, how can we do this? Because right now the hand's not looking too nice. Not looking too well. We have, I think the arm overall is fine. We'll just need to modify it a smidge here and there when we get to the actual muscles and definitions and things of that nature to help it feel better. But for now, I think it's good. I think it's a-okay. We just gotta slide some things over for upper top. But for here, I'm thinking arm should actually come out about here. And we can just move that there so it's more like that. We don't see the thumb, so that's fine. That's a-okay. We can also go to you here. Maybe even down you here. That would be, oh, hold on. That'd be you here. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You'd be 4. You can maybe then be 1, 2, 3. And then you come up a little bit there. I'm thinking maybe you're like that a little bit. Maybe even move that up there. And then this would come up like that. And that would come down like that there. That's not too bad, I don't think. I just think maybe it's pushed in too much. So maybe we can just move this guy in a little bit more about here-ish. I think that would look a little bit better than it being all the way over there. So maybe in a little bit more. About there. You can also see the distance between the feet at the bottom. I'm trying my best to keep in mind just distance. What is from what? Where is what? What is doing what to thing? We can make sure this is curved again. So to come up and over like it was before. Now this guy definitely seems like it should be less curved now. So we'll go ahead and we'll modify this to maybe be a little less curved. So it still keeps that idea of having it curve and go up. I think that's fine. I think the knee's good. And for this arm here, I think this is also fine here too. I think that is fine. And then we would just need the knee to go there. And then you would come down, maybe around about here. Maybe we can modify this to come around a little bit more. So something like that there. Move you about here. I think you're a little bit not pointy enough. So possibly we can even do something like that. And just remember, we could always also do this here. So it would be more so like that there. Maybe even add that there, because that's part of the elbow. But that guy I don't like. I think that's a little bit better for elbowy, but that knee doesn't like it. So maybe we can modify it so that the knee is more knee-like. That way it doesn't feel as bad. I think that's fine. I think that's okay. And then you'd have the muscle there. So it'd be something like that there. But that feels a little bit too much, doesn't it? It just depends, because she does have muscle. It's just how much muscle to give. And the issue is we can't really see too much muscle on this reference. That's also something we have to pay attention to. For here, I'm thinking we can see that her skirt kind of ends about here. So I'm gonna do, well, hold on, about there, and then that would go there. So the rest of the skirt would be about, I'd say about here-ish. We just make sure we do outlines of everything else. And then we'd have you kind of come up here, about down there. I'd say it would possibly end about here. We just need to be a little bit more certain about the hands. So maybe we can bring the hands a bit down. Maybe their hands can come down about here. And then down about here, here. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then we can move this up a little bit more. We're just looking for shapes, and we're trying to make sure, trying to make sure that it does not look like a backwards foot. Do you see it? This looks like it's tilted. Oh boy, that's not what we want. We want this guy to kind of feel like it's coming out flat. Yeah, like that. That's a little bit better. I think the hand could be possibly bigger, but I don't know how to make it bigger quite. Let's see. About there, about there-ish, I'd say. Possibly even about you here. And then we have you about here. And you about there. I think that's good. If anything, we could possibly even do that there. Or maybe more so that there. And then that would be your hand. Could maybe move that there. I think possibly we could do Usually for hands, you want to do something like that out there. Yeah, I think that's fine. We would then need some skin. So I'm going to do her skin here. Something like this instead. And let's just see where this takes us. So this guy here would be the outline. Again, we can always modify this a little bit later. Right now, we're just messing around with colors and messing around with shapes and the idea of shapes. But if this is all chest, or not chest, stomach, we fill this in and hold on. You get there, and that's all that there, and then that's this here. Oh, actually, I like it better when it wasn't that kind of line. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. Something like that there, and then maybe that there. Then we have more of this going on. So let's see. In her thing, it is a line, so we might even make it up a little bit more, because while in this reference here, it is down pretty far. I'm thinking maybe, well, actually, no, yeah. We should follow the reference because what the lady's wearing is just about what she's wearing in the actual games. Let's see. About there. And now for you here, it'd be about you, all of you here for the other colors. So let's see. You there. All of you guys can get decorated. And possibly we could even say some of this is extra because it is on the outside. Possibly. We'll see. Question just is, how much muscle is combines with that? And you here can also be a little bit off with you. Diagonal. You can be that there. There you go. And fill that in. Oh, fill that in. Nope, never mind. Let's do that there. And now fill you in. There you go. Okay, so if her chest is coming downwards, you're probably not going to see it. If it's mostly like this here, that's probably what they're doing, and that's why you can see more of the top of her chest. So possibly that's something we can do. Maybe we can have this kind of come back. If it's also pointing downwards, that makes sense why you can't see some of it. So might do something like this here, that there. Something like that there. Maybe even move this up here and that there. And then that is, let's see. Do that there, that there, that there. I'm actually more liking this here. Like that, and that, and that. Like that. She also has a little silvery thing connecting the two parts. So that's good news on us. I'll undo continuous to copy this, flip it, move it back over here. And this is where the other bear paw would be at. Because this arm is upwards, I'm thinking it should actually be possibly up here because it's up more. So possibly about here is where the other claw is, or paw rather. Something like that there, maybe a little more like this here. She also has her neck, right? So gotta make sure to add the neck on that. It's about neck here-ish, neck there, and the paw will be the outline of her there. So we should be fine. We'll also need to add the claws and everything, so more things to do, but that's okay. So we have this about there, and that about there, and that will be filled in. Though I don't like the way that looks quite. So we'll do this about there. I think that's fine. And then this silver thing is going to be across about here. So I think that's okay. Okay. So let's see. What else needs to be done? This could probably be cleaned up a little bit more. So let's work on that a little bit more. And then I think we'll be ready to add more detail. For now, I'll also add in the rest of the bear cloak about here. Probably going to need also some lines about there. Also probably some lines about here. And then probably some more lines about here and here. Well, more probably there. About there, I think it's fine. And if that's full, then you would also see the bottom of the bear cloak. About there-ish, I think it's fine to have about there. Though, if it is bear cloaky, the thing is, usually with fabric, gravity goes down. So why is mine going sideways like this? That wouldn't make sense. So, right, keeping that in mind, we only do it behind her. So something like this might be better suited because it's going downwards. That might feel more accurate, but is it cool? Only time will tell if we should follow this or follow the rule of cool. We'll see. And this too would also be behind, but we'll get to that soon. So I'll go ahead, copy this. Oh, hold on, copy this here. Let's copy you, slide you back down. About there-ish can work out. Lovely. Okay. So let's continue. If we're taking a look at this, what are other things we can add in? Because I think this is fine. Yeah, okay. So for hers, it's this part. if I either make your arm bigger or smaller, what might that look like? If I move this here, I don't think that's bad. Maybe if we move this up more. This is what it was before. And then if I move this up here, I think that might be a little better. Hold on. I'll fill that in, fill this in. If it lets me, I'm grabbing this color here, filling you in. There we are. We'll grab this color here, fill you in. You're going down and around. So you get filled in like that. You get filled in like that. You're also filled in. So you come about here-ish, about like that there, and then that there, that there. You still look like that. You're coming down. It would possibly be you're also coming down a little bit. But if you're coming down and this is also coming downwards, a bit, something like that I think might work a little bit better. So let's see. Arm comes about here, and then there needs to be space for the arm. Does there? Maybe, maybe not. We'll check out our muscles in a second. But for now, I think this is fine. I think it is okay. So then we'll also add line down here. Fill that in with space. Something like that there, that there, that there, not there. And actually, I think this coming downwards works out a little bit better. But I don't like how it's coming in that way. So possibly we can do something like this here. I feel like that works out a little bit better. Fill it in with bear. Yeah, possibly. Well, this should come up a little bit. Something like that there, I think is fine. We'll add that in there. Okay, I think we'll be good to go now. Add that in for about 3-ish there. You're going to be up there, up there. Okay, I think for now, this is decent. Now we need to take a look at muscles and muscle ladies and see what we can figure out. So I'll go ahead and I'll move this guy actually downwards. And we do have some images of muscular woman. So we'll be able to reference it, copy it there, paste it there. So what I'm going to do initially is I'm going to two-tone the muscles we have on here. 2 colors. We have this color and this color that we'll use. There's also a front and back color, but this is fine. We'll keep this as the lighter color where the muscles would be highlighted at. So go ahead, copy it. Now, I've never done muscles before. We probably really should do a muscle study now that I think about it. Also, looking at these two, what do you think? If I scroll out, we have this one here and this one here. How do they feel? Truthfully, I don't see much of a difference. If I zoom in here again a little bit, zoom out, we have top and bottom. The top one has more feel. The bottom one feels, yeah, I think possibly bottom one's still better. The new one's better. So we'll stick with the new one. We'll also flip it again, back to where we were. Go ahead and save this and then get some more coffee. Let's see doctor. Tasty, tasty. Alright, with all of that good to go now, we can start adding a few more details here and there and a few other things. For example, we can now start adding the claws of the bear. And since this is our little tiny bear, or this is her not turned form, I'm not gonna make the claws too big. I'll do my best to make them still a little bit on the cuddly side. Just a little bit, something like this. And I'm trying my best to make sure they look like they're actually 3D. That's the hope here. And I'll also make sure that they have their rounding, or not the rounding, but their, what is it called? The outline. I'm looking forward to doing their outline, or I'm trying to do their outline while I'm here. For example, here, this might be flat, and then this would be a fill in, and then that guy would be downward, that would be downward a little bit more, possibly even this would be downward a little bit here. Then for this guy here, we'd possibly go up a smidge, possibly about there-ish. For these points as well, for the claws, I'm making sure to add the point at the very tip. So for example here, that's a tip. So that would be a claw about there-ish. And then we would do out and out. So something like that. I think it's better to do it 2, maybe 3 this way here. Maybe up here a little bit there. The claw's not too bad. I think that's fine. And then we need another claw, right? So we need possibly a claw here. We need possibly another claw about here. And this should also fill in the detail a little bit more, so we don't have to worry about too much of everything. So about a claw here, I think will be okay. And then again, we just have to add our outline. So this would be a point there, but then you have to remember, sometimes the outlines feel like they mesh together a little bit too much. But it's okay, because we're also adding in more stuff too. So I'm not paying too much worry to it. That would be a point, right? And then this would be a point here. But because it is overlapping with her arm, what I might do instead is grab this guy and move him down. That way, for the overlap, it doesn't happen. And that would be our little claw guy here. And that would be their outline, and then you would come up, and you would go out and about, like this. And then out, up, up, and you would come up and over. So then you would have this guy here, and you would maybe come across like 2, 2, 2, 2. Let's see, 2, 2, 2, 2. And you know, I want it a little bit rounder, so I might do something like that instead. Right now it's like, it's got a little bit of roundness to it. And then we have you kind of coming downward. So something like that. And then this here would be more neck we could expose. There-ish, maybe even put that, let's see. I think that works there. So we'll keep that there. And this here could be more claws. Let's see, that's claw. The claws might have to be moved in a little bit. So about maybe here, there-ish. That way we get more spotlight for each of them. Because this is claw, that's the claw point. And then if that's more bear, that can go there. And then this can go here. And then this goes here, and that goes there. And then this guy here can maybe come outwards a bit. Or maybe you can just even do that. But that doesn't look right, does it? You have to, these are things you kind of have to take a little bit into consideration. I kind of like the idea of just that being dark. But we could also make that her dark skin. So this could also go here to show off, hey look, this is still, she still has some skin underneath. But does that feel right, or does that feel wrong? I think it's okay. I think for now, this is fine. From there, we're gonna need a little bit of shading, but first let's add that silver thing. So I think having it kind of come up here, it's gonna need its own outline, isn't it? So we could have this kind of come up, and let's see. It's going to be wrapped between underneath the first guys. So we're going to have it come down a little bit, like that there. And then we just need to have a singular line. So this could come up here, up, 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 and maybe up here. So then this guy here would need to come about down there, and then that would come up there. And I think that's fine for like a silvery chain. Though I kind of think this should go in a little bit. That way the bear claw gets to shine a little bit more. I don't want to have the bear claw shine a little bit, not too much. I think this is fine though. That guy would go here-ish, which I think is good. That guy might even go, let's see, down. Well, we were just down, so just kind of depends. If we move this guy up by 1, over a little bit maybe, move this guy up, move you over about there, move you about here-ish, and move you about up here, slide you over a little bit like that. You know what? I don't quite like it, so we're not gonna do it. That's as easy as that. I think I don't like it when it goes in between. So maybe instead we do it here. We can't see it. Something about here-ish. That way the bear claws still get to shine on their own, and she still gets the neck thing. It's about here and here. So now let's go ahead and grab her lines. So possibly, and it'd be nice if I could do 2 lines, but maybe not. Maybe it's just going to have to be like this, where we have the line kind of coming in here, and we don't want it to capture both of these guys, so I might do something like that there, and then that there, that there, that there, that there, that there, that there. I think that works. I think this is better. So go ahead and save it. Next up, right, let's see. I'm also not liking that there. Yeah, I think that's fine. From there, I definitely do think we have to add the head. That is important at some point, but you know what? Let's do the other parts. We can kind of see on this lady a little bit of muscle, but if we're looking at this lady, where the arm is downwards, you can kind of see where the arms should have the highlights and the muscles a little bit more. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab you here, move you down a little bit more, possibly even like this here. And that way we can see about maybe defining some of those muscles. Maybe this can kind of come in a little bit. Maybe you can kind of come up there, maybe come up there, like that there. And then if this guy's coming outwards and you're coming inwards, possibly like that there and that there, that does look a little wonky, doesn't it? I think it might have to come out a little bit more, possibly like that there. Though that looks like it's a point, doesn't it? And we don't want it to feel like it's a point. Really, I'm trying to go for that angle shape we saw before. If I just grab this to show you, we have it out and then in. That does feel like what's going on, but it's not quite the look I'm going for, which is okay. Maybe what we can do is slide this up a little bit more. Maybe if we go this up a little bit more, and this up a little bit more, maybe that up a little bit more, that can possibly help it not feel as bad. I think this guy as well can come out a little bit. So again, it's not too sharp of a turn. This guy's 1, 2, 3, 4. This guy's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is 1, 2, 3. So doing it this way might not make it feel as bad. It's just gonna be that muscle that's gonna really play with this. So if I go ahead and grab, this is the highlight. Yeah, that highlight's not highlighty enough. I might just grab this color here. For example, we'd have, let's see, you here, and that would be darkness around the bottom. So we'd have you kind of do like this here, because you're below our claw. You can't be seen. So something like that. And then this here would be behind the arm. So we might do something like this here and fill that in there. I don't think that's too bad. Kind of like that there. And then maybe even have this guy kind of come down here to show off the muscle part where it is a highlight. So possibly even something like that there. Maybe even move this up a little bit. Maybe even move this up and up a little bit. Something like that there. Though I don't know if that's the exact way to do it. The thing is, muscles are hard, and I have not done enough studies on muscles to know exactly how to do them. I have references here, but the issue is because I don't know too much. For example, you can kind of see like a squiggly rod, but for the pose we're doing, it's also important to know the muscles. For example, here, this lady doesn't really have a lot of muscles, so they're not defined. In this image, maybe it's best for us to do no muscle, or for example, do something like this here, where we can't see it. When your arm is downward, there's a few you can see. And for now, I think, if anything, that would go there. I liked it how we had it initially. I liked it looking like this. Maybe, for just the style of Pixelart, not having muscles is okay. It could just be that, where because we don't know, right? We don't have to push ourselves. We're already pushing ourselves enough by trying to do more pixel art, or a big piece like this. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's not too bad we don't have to all try new things. It doesn't have to be this way. I am making this way. I am the creator of my suffering. And if I'm suffering a little bit too much, then it's not fun. We want it to be challenging, but not frustrating. And that's why I'm trying to do it like this, where it's a thing of, I don't know how to do it, but is it a thing I want to learn how to do, or at least attempt to do? Or should I stick with what I know? That's what my question is at the moment. And that's what I'm wondering. If we have, let's see, side view, you can kind of see, right? The muscle comes underneath and kind of goes in. So we have, let's see, maybe move this up a little bit. About up there, hold on, about there. So that's one muscle, well, it's a shadow. And then maybe we have this guy kind of coming in about there-ish. I don't think that's too bad, truth be told. It's just, I don't know muscle. So maybe we can have this guy kind of come down here. Let me see. I will be right back. I'll see if I can find more muscle images. Okay, I'm back. I was able to find some images from Tomb Raider. So possibly, because when we shine the light, right, you can kind of see lighting on this area. There's a little bit of highlights. So let's see, does this help us? We add, let's see, a little bit of less here, possibly there, and then there. So there's these circles that are going on, and then there's deep highlights underneath. So if anything, it might be like this, and then we add the highlights. So it kind of be all highlights along this edge, I think would be a start. So we'll go ahead and do that there, because this is all, well, that's not in shadow. So something like that. And then from there, what I think we see is, oh, hold on. We kind of see them go underneath. So possibly we would have one going up like this and kind of coming down. So kind of coming up and down. And this guy here would go around a little bit, something like that there. And then this guy here would go up a little bit too, possibly there. But that doesn't look great. It looks like the side view. We would need a front view. I definitely think I'm onto something here. It's just the thing, no, don't know too much. I kind of don't think this is too bad. I think it could work if we help it, possibly. So what I'm thinking is, first we make sure it's not too outline-ish there, and there I think is fine. Maybe we grab this guy here and add it up too. This might be where dithering can be our friend here. And we can also add a highlight here. So for example, that might be a highlight there, maybe a highlight here, then also a highlight here, about there and there, can possibly be a highlight. So again, because her arm is forward, it's just that muscle. It's down and forward. And when that's down and forward, you're kind of seeing the side of the muscle more so. So it's a little tricky. We have this guy here. I think it'd be maybe more so like this possibly, because you're seeing it from that side. So might shove it over a little bit. That way it's more visible from the front there. And then for our hands, let's see. I think it's okay to not go too detailed on the hands, because they're hands, you know, they don't have to be too detailed. They're like that there. And just a little bit here and there. Something like that there. It can be, again, just a thing of, it doesn't have to be hard. It can just be implied. So if we add a little bit of implications here, add a little bit of implication here for our thumb, we can then scroll back a little bit on the thumb, and about there. That thumb's a little bit too thick. So in this case, we might see if we can make it a little bit pointier, possibly there. I think that hand's now too small. She's got baby hands, and we don't want baby hands, do we? So maybe we can go a little bit bigger, right? What we had was initially, I think, bigger. No, it was not bigger. That's okay. Let's make it bigger. I think you can go for a bit bigger. Just a smidge bigger. It doesn't have to be a lot bigger. Something like this here, and that there. And then from there, I think the thumb can come out a smidge like that there. And the thumb's flat, though, so it needs to stay flat. Something like that. Oh, hold on. We don't want you moving. It's just something like that there. And this can kind of come in. About there-ish, I think will be fine. And then this guy here would be shading. So let's add in our shading about there-ish. I think here would be a little bit more, possibly there. And then our thumb would come out a little bit more. So something like this, I think, is okay. Possibly like that there. That way, it looks like the hand's kind of coming out. Though it's tricky because I don't know shading. But it's okay. It is a-okay. I just want to try. That's my goal at the moment. Just trying to see if we can make it feel like a possibility. For example, here in our hands, where do we see shadow at usually? Usually I see it in the bottom of hands. So I might see it like that there. And then again, right bottom of the hand. So I might see that there. And then you might see, but maybe just shading there. Like that. That could work. Maybe even add a shading bit here, and there. That could be a hand. It could be a hand. We don't have to worry about it again. So we're not touching it like that. That's easy peasy. For her foot here, we do have her in sandals. So that's a little tricky, I think. Okay. We can go ahead and just add some sandals here. Possibly. Or do we have to add actual sandals? Or can we just get away with doing something like this where we just add it to the actual foot itself? Because, you know, it doesn't have to be just bad. And then that would go there. And then we could add that there. Maybe even add this here. This here could go there. And that would go there. I think it's okay. Maybe even add a little bit more foot now that we've moved some of it over. Something like that there, that there. I think that's okay. Maybe we can even add a little bit of foot in between. Or maybe just big toe. Big toe. Does big toe go in? I think the big toe is on the inside of the foot. So we'll keep it here and here. Like that there, and I think that there is fine. I think that's okay. Maybe we can even add this here for along the back of the foot since it's in shadow. So something like that there, that there. Maybe even that there, that there, that there. Something like that there. Then from there, this is ankle. We don't need ankle, so we can go ahead and do like that. This guy should also be in shadow. So we're going to go ahead and also shade this in because this is shadow here. So shadow all along for you here because this is the other side of the body. So something like this here where it's facing away from the light that we have. And because this here is part of the ankle, we might add that in there. This guy down here is also in shadow, so we can go ahead and fill that in there. This guy is filling up in light. Might add another highlight maybe there for about here, or maybe even add a knee highlight about here. I'm kind of just swinging at the moment. I'm not sure how well it looks. I can always, if need be, just look at this tomorrow and then see how I feel about it then, because that is a strategy. Coming back to it after a while, giving your mind time to rest and see how it feels and if it does feel like it should. Because sometimes that's needed. Sometimes it's a thing of, I'm gonna see how I feel tomorrow. And that's okay. It's the thing of figuring out your tactics. So we'll fill this in here, fill that in here again, right? Because it's separated. We'll add in the light about there-ish, I think. Maybe even see if we can add a bit of a round oomph to it to help a little bit. Let's see. Maybe we can add in about there. I think that there's fine. I'll save it, scroll back in, zoom in a little bit here. For her hand, right? We're seeing the back of the hand, so this would be the side, definitely. Maybe we can add a hand here, possibly. A finger, I mean, to her hand. And let's see. Finger there. I'm wondering if we just add bottoms to it. How does that feel? I think it's fine to do that there. I don't think we have to add too much detail. Anything, can we add in the muscles again? I don't know if we can, but we can try. For example, if we go down a little bit to the left a little bit here, then this is just dark enough to where we can add maybe a possibility of extra definition along the bottom of those muscles. About there. And then for muscles usually, is it the line there? I think, well, we have more space, but it doesn't feel like we have more space, does it? Add a line in there. Really needs to be darker, so possibly even down over a little bit. And dark belly button down there. Maybe a little bit darker. About there. I think that's fine. And maybe even add, let's see, that there. And yeah, I think that's fine. We can then maybe also add that in there. And then for the chest, it'll depend because we're adding in extra stuff. I think it's fine. Adding that there because it's also areas that are shaded and dark. This guy's in the background, so I'm not too concerned about him. What we do need to worry about is her tattoo. So if I just add a bluish line here, add a bluish line here, like that there, and maybe even that there-ish, and then add it in here so we can really show it. The question is, what do we want to show? Do we want it to be some sort of spirals? And I think that's the answer. We can try to add maybe some spirals. So maybe we can add in here, about there, and then maybe also another circle here. How about that? Circle tattoos. Something like that there. Like that. I think that's fine. But then we also have to add in the shaded portion. So for example, all of this is shaded, so it goes in the darkness here, like that. This is also in shadow, so it goes in the darkness here. So something like that there. Then from there, I think it's fine. I think keeping it this way is a-okay. So let's see. That's that tattoo done. That's this done. If anything, maybe we can add a bit of a highlight to show, hey, this is some sort of magical tattoo. That's a possibility. Or we just add a little bit of a highlighty point here and do it in the areas, some areas where it is in a little bit of light, possibly like that there. Could even go up a little bit more, possibly. That way we can really make it stand out. Something like that there. Now that's a highlighty feel. Could maybe even add that there to show it's wrapping around. From there, we have the arm, we have you there. Yeah, this is a tricky thing where I don't quite know my outlines, but it's okay. Let's see. From there, let's go ahead and add, let's see. We could do a darker area for this guy too, to show the background, his background. So from here, we could do something like that. We can then do a darker green for here, a darker green for that back leg there. We have this back, and we have you here for that back there. And this is this color here, so we can go ahead and do that color there, and this color around here and here, because that is the back of the bear. This is also the back, so we can also darken that up. From there, we can go ahead and also add in this guy here for our line, for our back one. So I'm just slowly adding in details as I find them. For example, this guy should be darker, so we're going to make you darker. Undo that there so that we can see what needs to be darker. And then just go ahead and add that line that we had initially. So that there. This goes up, and over, and then that's knee. That should be fine. The question is, does this go over here? I think that's fine like that. You here would be a darker portion here and here. And would that be finger? Yep, apparently your finger, which is fine. We'll add that in here. And then that arm would have to come down like that to be more in line with what it is already. Something like that. Oh, we also don't need this line here. We could just make it like that. But because it's the over part, it wouldn't actually need to have the shading. So it might just be something like that instead. Save that there. From there, we also need to make sure we have our outlines on our bear. And our bear claws can also get outlines of their own, which will be nice and cute. So add an outline here, outline here, outline here. Yeah, these outlines right now aren't showing up, and that's okay. So what we'll do for the moment is add outlines like this. Oh, no, that's the same color. This should be the color of our bear. There we are. That way the outline should be this color here. There we are, temporarily at the very least. And then we'll just fill this in. That way we know what we're looking at. That silver will get its own outline. Something like that there. That there, that there, that there. Then you have you there, you there, you there. And then we also have you here. Oh, hold on. You here, here. We have you here, here. And if we can, I'd love to give the cloth their own outline. That'd be great. We have you here, you here. Oh, that's also this here. Also all of that there. Then you go here, here. Here, 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 here. What are we at with time? Told you 2 hours! I mean, we're making good time. We're not done, but I think we'll be done soon. And that's all I can really hope for. Let's see. About there. Then we have you there, 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 there. Like that. And then from there, yeah, we're gonna have to worry about the ears. I might just even do this for now. That way we can worry about it a little bit later. Just a little bit later. Because that, yeah, that's gonna be a build. It's gonna be some time to worry about it. So I think it should be there for now, because the nose, depending on if we make the nose, for example, come out like this here, I don't think that'd be too bad, actually. If we do maybe that there, and then the snout there, and then you here, and then you here, and then we have you come out a little bit, and then maybe we have you come down a little bit, and then we have an ear kind of coming out, maybe more so up, ear up like that. I could see it being like that. And then we have the eyes. So we have the eyes kind of coming in like that there. And then we have the ear coming in. So maybe that's not too bad, actually. Having it come up and look like it's tilted back on our face. I think that's cute. We have the ear. Make sure the ear is good to go. Something like that. Then move that in and zoom it in a little bit, because we're going to need to make sure this is working as it should. We also know that the face has a outline. We need to make sure we also play into that part. So I go ahead and add the outline on the bear. Like that there, that there, that there. Because if the face is coming outwards, then we have to follow a few rules here and there. For example, I think the ear might come downward a little bit or do something else. Just a smidge. So if I grab, let's see, you here, and you come out here, I think the face might come in about there-ish. Something like that I think would work out a little bit better, because we're seeing the bottom of the face. So the highlight, or the top of the face, would be more so about here and here, because this is the top of the bear's head. We'd also see some darkness here because this is the center of the head. So about here, let's see, there-ish. Maybe a little bit darker along the bottom here, so we'll see if we can modify this a little bit. For example, here it'd be darker, but that's where our outline is, and we don't want our outline to be that color. So it might be actually this color that we're seeing. So darker portion here, 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 there, and then all along here. Let's see, might move you in just a bit, and then we'll have you 2, 1, 1, 1, and then over, out there, hold on, grab you there, grab you there, grab you there, grab you there. Yep, and then we can also add in more hair, just about like that. And let's see, what else can we do? I don't know, do you like that or that? I think that's fine, I think it's cute. So let's add that in there. And then for the rest of the face, I'm wondering, do we fill this in? Add in lighting about here, because this is all in lighting. This is the highlighted part of the bear. And then the ear would kind of come out here, I think. Something like that there. You might even see the back of the ear in the background, so maybe you'd even see about here. Something like that there. I think that's fine. Maybe even that there, but I think this adds a little bit more definition. So another thing we're thinking of, right, is silhouette. So we're thinking in terms of silhouette. If I just do there, that there, and then we add in our ear, about there, 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 and there, and there, and there. If we're thinking in terms of that, right, this has got to be a dark portion. So if I go and move this guy over, down a little bit, we go down to the right a little bit more, this is going to be the dark part of the ear. So this is all the bottom of the face, about there-ish, something like that there. I think that's fine. And if that's the bottom of the bear, then we also need another bottom. So we go down a little bit more, and that guy would get filled in, for example. And this guy here would need a highlight for it at the top of the nose. This might even turn out to look like this, where we can see the highlighted top of that part of the nose, like that there. There you go, something like that, though. This would come out down about there-ish. Maybe even here would be a little bit darker too, so about up like that there, and then also this could be bottom because it's the bottom of the mask. So bottom of it there. Maybe we can add those teeth back in again, so maybe even add... Nah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine to leave it like this. Maybe we can even add some hair back here. But I think it's fine to have her face kind of swept to the side. I think it's cute. So we'll go ahead and add in those colors back again. We're seeing some of the highlights of her face, some of them not in highlight. We're just trying to get a feel. For example, here her hair should have an outline. So I'm going to grab this guy actually, move you down, and oh, hold on, sneeze. Okay, we're good. So let's see here. If I go ahead and do you here, if we make her hair a point, it would be like that, or if we make it not a point. But I think this is fine. And then we have a kind of ribbony portion. So something like that I think is okay for now. I think if anything, it would be the highlight, right? This would be the regular hair, this here, and then this would be the highlight. So it would be something like this here. Something like that up there, I think would be fine. The thing is, this is pretty close to what we already have. So it might be beneficial to just make it the rest of the hair like that. I think that can work out fine. For her ear, maybe it'd be fine to go up or up like that. I think it's okay. I think this is okay. For the ear, I remember there were comments about it being a different color, or that it should be a different color. I think there's, argument for each. I am open to trying different bone colors, but I quite liked my color of the ear. Really, that's the thing is, sometimes on art, everyone's not going to be happy, and that's okay. It's a matter of making sure it's what you like, because at the end of the day, it is your art. Let's see. Maybe I can make the ear go up like this here, like that there. Maybe it's out too much, so I'm gonna go up a little bit more. Like that there, and like that there. And then maybe we can make it come out and down like that there. Yeah. And then we'll have this as the there. So then this is the top of the teeth there. This is also shadowy part of her face. So I might be able to get away with doing something like this here. And that there. Maybe even that there. How does that look? I quite like the look of it not that. So maybe we could just keep it like that. I think it's fine. Do we make her eyes bigger? Because we could. Could do something like that. But I think having her eyes small helps with that feel of it being wild and untamed. I also think this highlight for the bear should be a different color. It feels like it's not dark enough. So I might grab that brown color we see here and... I think if we do in black and white, what are the colors we're seeing? It might be beneficial to do it here, like this. Like that there, and then have it come out and down, look like it's wrapping around. But then the inside of the ear needs to also be a thing, right? So maybe we can do something like this here, where it's not exactly the inside, but it is part of the inside. Something like that there I think is okay. Maybe we can even add in a darker portion about here-ish, but that might be too much contrast to add into our little bear guy here. Yeah, you know what? I don't think it's too bad. Truth be told, I think it's okay. I'm just wondering, do we do it there or do we do it up here? Like this, because we're from another... Yeah, there we are. I like that. I like that a lot. We have the bottom of her face, and this should also be, I think, about there. The bottom of her face, I definitely think should have a little bit of the darkness there. And the top of her face also should. So I might actually just do this here, that there. Because I think that would be easier to tell what's going on. And do we do the bottom of her ear? I think that's okay. Yeah, okay. And from there, almost done. Nearly done. I also think we could do possibly a better highlight for her arm. So for example here, we grab this color, we go down a little bit more, to the right a little bit more, This is a lighter color than the other dark color, but it's still dark. That's what we want to make sure about. And from what I'll do after that is I'll add this as a highlight color. So for example, I'm thinking of adding it to these parts of the body where we know for certain it's in light. That guy's not in light quite well. That guy's also not in light. But we know this part of her body. The issue is, right? This guy's blending in too much. So we either need to make it darker or lighter. So if I go ahead and grab my fill bucket tool and just paint all of this guy in with one color, it's a little bit better. It might need to be a little bit darker still. Paint that in now. That's not too bad, but it feels like it's the same exact color as the other guys. So maybe, let's see. We went from this color to this color. Let's slide over a little bit. Fill that in again. That's not too bad. I think this is fine. So now with this color, I'll go ahead and I'll fill this in again. This guy is all in lighting, so I'll add it as our lighting guy. Like that there. Now, is there any other part of our body in lighting? This guy is in lighting, so we'll go ahead and add this to the lighting. This guy is not in lighting, so that guy gets to be the back. This guy is in lighting, so keep it in lighting like that. I think is fine. And then that's in lighting, that's not in lighting. That's definitely not in lighting. Your ear, should you be in lighting like that there? I think it's okay. I do think, though, this guy could use maybe some modifications. Maybe if we do this and then this, can we modify the hair so it doesn't look too orangey? I don't think so. It might just be better to not do a colored outline there. Also, I think you should be possibly more like that. Yeah. Also, for our little bear nose, I think it could add a little bit more pop, or the color could be modified a little bit. For example, I like this. I think that's cute. A little bit of that there. And I also think you should come up possibly, or it should not be that color. Maybe it should be this color here. That might be a little bit better. Like that there, that there. Maybe that would be a little bit finer, but it's the same exact value. So we'll keep it as this. I think this is okay. A little eye, especially because you could do a little eye. Now I can see. Ah, I think it's cute. So we'll go ahead and save that there, save that there. I think last but not least, what we need to do is we need to shine highlights on her other portions. So for example here, this is kind of in the dark a little bit there, maybe even add a little bit there. Something like that for the highlight. We also need to make this darker because it's the silvery portions. So I might slide that over and then make this here. Oh, hold on. That's a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because this is the outline of the shirt. So possibly that there, that there, that there. And this is the bear part, so we can go ahead and move that there. This is her skin. Now, I'm wondering, do we make the skin a little bit brighter? Like this. That's not too bad. I also think it might be a little bit better than the harsh colors we have. So I might just do that. Though, the black part of her face, or the bear at least, should go back to what it was. This dark color? Yeah, like that. I kind of like that a little bit better than the really dark colors that we had. I think that fits. And then we can use this really dark color from when it's really dark in some areas. So for back here, we could use it. For back here, we could use it because it's in darkness. And I think it just adds, usually I like to keep it to 3 colors. So this kind of fits in with the 3 color idea where this guy is in background darkness, so it stays in background darkness. You have our background, you're in darkness. This guy here possibly would be, let's say like that, possibly there. How's that look? That's okay. And we'll grab you here. You're in darkness, so you can kind of go here, 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 here. Well, there-ish, I think is fine. And this guy along here is also in darkness. So you can go in darkness. And these two touch, so they would also, I think, be counted as in darkness. But there, and that there. And this guy here, because it is right below, I would count it as darkness. And this guy back here, I would also count as darkness because it's right in the back. And this guy's underneath. So also darkness. Everyone gets darkness. Darkness shall reign. Like that. And we're missing just a few more portions. For example, for the claws, we could do in color like the teeth. So when the claws have the bottom portion kind of hanging over. Let's see. I think that's fine. And then this guy here, that guy there. And then this is the bottom of the claw. That's possibly the top and bottom. And then bottom here. I think that's good. And then we have, where is the shadow of the claw? I would say this is the shadow of the claw. Nope, hold on. We first need to make sure we do dark area here, And then, oh, make sure I also do continuous. This is the bottom portion of the claw. This too is the bottom portion. So we would add that there, and there, I would say. And then we have the top of the claw. So this guy would be the highlight. So you might add it about here-ish because that's the highlight of the claw. And then this here might be the highlight of it. So might do that there, and that there. And then we have the dark portion of it. So might do highlight, make this a little bit darker, slide this over a little bit, maybe make it a little bit darker about here, and add a little bit of darkness there. And then let's see, add a little bit of darkness about here and fill that in. So might be something like that there. I think that's good, though I don't like this up here. So I'm just gonna fill this in and do the same exact thing where this guy I think would be the highlight. So I'm gonna make this guy the top guy highlight. I'm gonna make this guy the bottom guy the dark guy. It's about, I think, better like this when it looks like it's wrapping around. I think it's the better way to do the color. And again, right, we have these guys for the darker portion of the paw. So might do this here, might do that there for the contact. And then we can also see about doing the bottom of the paw as well. So this here would be the darker portion. That guy's in lighting, so he doesn't get used. However, this guy here is used at the side. So that would maybe get used, and this guy too might get used for there to make sure it pops out. Though, is it drawing too much contrast? I'd say not. I think it's okay because it's all in the back. And then this guy here could also be a little bit in the background there. From there, what I'm thinking is maybe we can grab this color, make it a little bit darker, slide it over, and make this guy the outline of our nails. So something like this instead could be used. Possibly. We'll have to see, especially when it comes to the, oh boy, to everything else that we're about to add for the, what is it? The wolf pelt. But if that does well, then we'll be good. Let's see, this would also need a darker tone, so go down, slide you over a little bit, and this would be darker, this would be darker, darker, this would be darker, this would be dark, dark, you'd be dark, dark, and you'd also be dark, dark, dark. Also, I think you'd be more so like that. There you are. So darker claws there. This guy here would be the outline of the other thing. So I might just grab you here and do you there like that. Though I don't know if you can tell that it is bone. I don't know about you. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. I can also here make this darker because it is part of the neck. So something like that there for darker portion. And let's see. Because this is also darker, it might be darker on underneath the head. So this also might be important to mark that guy out. After that, let's see, we can also make you darker, the eyebrows themselves. My question, do we need that dot there, or can we do, let's see, that nose there? Maybe even nose like this here, there, there? No, it's more of a trollish nose, and you're an orc. So I think this is fine. I just think we need to figure out this pelt part. It shouldn't be too painful, but it's still going to be very much painful. Oh, yes. Let's see. So this is in highlight. So I think this here will be the part that gets in light. So I might do something like this here and move that in there. But the thing with pelts is usually they're very wavy. So might not have to do that. For example, maybe we just do this here, the exact thing I just did. Fill that in. And then this guy here would be a darker color, so that guy would get filled in about there. And there, fill you in, about there. Maybe we can add a little bit of tuff going on to show off, hey look, this is some woofy fur, possibly. And I'm seeing maybe we can make some shapes in the lines to show off texture. I don't know if it actually shows off texture, if I'm just crazy. You know, that is, let's not bring the craziness off the table here. I am just trying. You know, that makes me all look crazy stupid. Let's see. Add that about there. I think that's fine. Actually, there. And then this guy here. Are you the darker guy? Yep, you are. Okay. And you're the lighter guy. We didn't even add you in. So I'll go ahead and add these little nuggets of truth inward here and here. Possibly there, like that. I zoom out. Does it look like it's furry? I think this could pass for fur. I think so. So you know what? We're keeping it. We're keeping it. And I'm modifying it a little bit more. Possibly move that up there. And then this guy here needs to be furry. So you would possibly need to add in you there, possibly do you there, about there-ish. Maybe fill that in. And then maybe add in some motion up here, about there, possibly there, possibly about there, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going off of shapes. I'm hoping shapes can carry this. That is the hope. That's what I'm doing, if you're wondering. It's just, can I fit a little bit of a curvy shape into here? Is that possible? And then maybe a shapey here. All right, we're going for more of the lines, so maybe we can bring this guy up and out there, up and out there, about there. Maybe even up here. Like that, there. If I zoom out, I could see it being fur. I really could. So we're going to keep it. And maybe we can even add a little bit of lines here to show off bottom of fur. About there, I think that works. Especially if you do like that to show off fluffy parts. And if I add some fluffy parts here, I think that'll also show off that it is more so fur than anything else. For example, if we add a bit here, and add a bit about here, about there. I think that can show off fur. Also, if we do this down here-ish. Yeah, like that. And then we add in another guy about here, about there. Maybe even another guy about here. Oh, hold on. About there-ish to show off. Look, there's tufts of fur going on here. Okay, anything else I can think to add? Not really. Might add in a darker shadow for here, possibly. So you might go down a little bit, over a little bit, and then might add this here, might add that there, and do about this here. Possibly, because the background doesn't need to be shaded. So that's good news for us. We don't have to add in the extra bits. That can go there, for example, and that would be our shoe. Anything else we can add? We've added shaded highlights. We've added the. I think we're good. This might be as good as it's gonna get, at least for now, with my current experience. You can see about adding possibly some highlights on her arm here. So possibly about here, and maybe even about here, because, you know, muscles and all that. I'm definitely gonna have to do a muscle study at some point, but for now, this might be everything we can do for our current state. Now, is it possible we can add a little bit of fur feel to here? For example, maybe if I do this here, and then a bit of this here, and then maybe a bit of this here, maybe a bit of this can go about here. Does that feel like it added or removed some of the... I definitely think adding a little bit of blending did help. I will say that. I think so. So we'll keep it. Something like that there. Okay, I think we're all done though. So this would be Gloyra Ownka in her non-vampire form. What we'll next try to do is work on her really vampirous form. And I think we'll go for more of a more wild look to her. Definitely more bear features, more fangs. She looks different. You can definitely tell, you know, maybe she's on a different diet. Saying that though, thank you all for joining, thank you all for coming. I hope you had a fun time. I hope you were able to learn something, or maybe just have a fun time listening, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye bye.